Chapter 447. This drop of blood became more and more astonishing, the fluctuations it released tearing apart the heavens. Waves of shouts erupted from within, shaking up heaven and earth. Vaguely, the cultivators seemed to have heard the war cries of a great army. Then, a void figure appeared behind that drop of blood. It looked like a man, but it wasn't that real. Right now, he looked forward, as if he could see through the endless heavens, cross the great river of time, stand tall in the world, overlooking all living things. He was like a heavenly emperor. The 5 great overlords were shocked, because at this moment, even they instinctively bowed down. This person's aura was too terrifying, even though it was just a drop of blood. A drop of blood floated above a mortal tomb, as if reflecting the past, present, and future. It was as if it formed a world of its own, shouts of war shaking the heavens from within, as if there was a great army fighting, all of them unimaginably powerful figures. In immortal tomb surroundings, countless cultivators stared at that drop of blood without blinking. To be more precise, they stared at the man behind that drop of blood. That man was indistinct, standing proudly between heaven and earth. A cauldron floated above his head, releasing source energy that flickered with 9 types of immortal gold brilliance. He moved, lowering his head, his eyes landing on Shirhao's body, as if he was looking across endless time. Those eyes were incomparably deep, as if they were transmitting indescribable mysteries and information. However, Shirhao couldn't sense it at all, unable to see through what kind of information the other party was transmitting. Master, is he talking to me? Shirhao's small fair hand pointed at the void male, raising his head to look towards Chu Bei, eyes carrying confusion. For some reason, he had a type of feeling that the other party had something he wanted him to know, but he couldn't understand it. Separated by the great river of time, not belonging to this place, unable to speak. Right at this time, a cultivator seemed to have heard a thunderous noise, accompanied by unmatched immortal Tao heavenly tribulation. An indistinct voice sounded from the void male's mouth. Did that person speak? Separated by the great river of time. What is the meaning of this? Countless cultivators were shocked, staring at that void male. Their ears perked up, wishing to understand what was going on. Gradually, that person bathed in lightning radiance, his expression becoming complicated, as if he was resisting something. No more sounds were released. Wang Wang. Amidst the strange rumbling sounds, the illusory man suddenly waved his hands in the air. He was forming an image. Within the scene was a battlefield that was too horrible to look at. The gods and devils of the heavens had fallen, and blood dyed the world red. The scene was too terrifying. Above the battlefield, there were several figures standing proudly and fighting. One of them held a great bell in his hand. The sound of the bell was long and drawn out, shaking the long river of time. He was unleashing his arts to fight. Fragments of time and space scattered down like raindrops, seemingly able to affect the past and present. The other person was an empress with exceptional style. In her hands was an immortal artifact that turned into a sword, ring, and mask, releasing unmatched brilliance. She was also fighting, great Tao light flickering about. There was also a fat Taoist priest. In terms of appearance, he was actually somewhat similar to little Chao Yuxing. The 4th person was a man with a huge cauldron in his hand. He was a celestial emperor. He looked down at his enemies and attacked them with his cauldron. As he took a step forward, the terrifying power of lightning surrounded him. What is he trying to tell us? Where is the battlefield he created? Could it be in the desolate border? What level of battle is this? While looking at the scene the void male produced, the cultivators in front of a mortal tomb were so shocked that they lost their composure. Father, Great One. If one was to talk about the one whose emotions changed the most, it was none other than Yi Qingxian. When this drop of blood appeared, her beautiful eyes became red. This was especially the case when that void male appeared. Her voice was choked with emotion, her voice trembling. Bean-sized tears fell uncontrollably. Above a mortal tomb, that void figure sensed Yi Qingxian's emotions. The gaze he looked at Yi Qingxian with carried pity and apology. The void male's eyes shifted away from Yi Qingxian. When his eyes landed on Chu Bei's body, his figure clearly trembled. Bo, Tur, Master, Tur, the void male forcefully endured the unmatched immortal Tao heavenly tribulation, releasing two different indistinct calls. Then, he bowed deeply towards Chu Bei. Honglong. The void male seemed to still want to say something, but the immortal Tao tribulation light was too terrifying. Moreover, this was only the appearance of a drop of blood, so it was hard for him to say anything else. Little Yi, what do you want to say? Your master knows. This is your tribulation. When it truly reaches the point of no return, your master will take action. Chu Bei feigned calmness, speaking with an incomparably calm voice. When he saw Yi Fan in the perfect world, Chu Bei was still incomparably shocked. From the lightning that appeared behind the other party clearly already developed the system-bestowed lightning pill to the extreme, to the extent where there was even his own Tao mixed in. It was clear that the current Yi Fan came from countless years in the future. He was already powerful to an indescribable level. Did you all hear that? That snow-clothed woman is actually his daughter. Moreover, he actually called Boss Chu his master. My heavens, these tangled and complicated relationships. My head is in a bit of a mess. It wasn't just the cultivators. Even the 5 old giants' expressions were a bit stupefied. Master, turns out he was that senior brother of mine. Sherhouse stared blankly for a moment. When he snapped back to reality, his mouth was wide open, eyes widened, looking at the void male with shock. The void male's eyes returned to Sherhouse's body. He shook his head, and after a sigh, his figure disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, that drop of blood slowly entered Sherhouse's body. Master, this. Sherhouse immediately cried out in alarm. Don't worry, he won't harm you. Chu Bei pinched Sherhouse's cheeks with a smile, moreover pointing in the direction Yi Fan disappeared in. Don't cry, you all will be fine. Soon, you will be able to reunite with little Yi. That day won't be too far away. Chu Bei spoke, comforting the red-eyed Yi Qingxian on the side. Honglong. Right when all of the cultivators here were focused on Chu Bei's group, a resonant bugle horn sounded from the end of the long river. This sound, it's the desolate border's recruitment. How could it be like this? Isn't it supposed to only be recruited once every 1,000 years? If my calculations aren't wrong, then it hasn't even been 100 years since the last recruitment. Could it be that something happened in the desolate border? Impossible, right? The desolate border has countless ancestors overseeing it. When they heard the bugle horn, the expressions of the cultivators became serious, to the extent where they no longer paid attention to Chu Bei and Yi Qingxian. They all turned around to look in the direction the bugle horn sounded from. Shio! A divine rainbow tore through the air above the long river. In the blink of an eye, a stooped elder appeared at the end of the long river. Even though he had a head of white hair, his aura was like a rainbow, unknowingly releasing an aura that wasn't weaker than the 5 great overlords. Devil Leader King, you actually didn't die. When he saw the stooped elder, the old celestial was the first to cry out in alarm. You're the one who died. This king was merely secretly recruited to the desolate border. When he heard the old celestial's words, the stooped elder released a cold snort. Why did you blow the bugle horn? Immortal Palace's palace master asked with a frown. Nonsense. Of course it's to represent the Great One on that side. The Devil Leader King's eyes swept over the Taodai King, War Race's clan chief, and countless cultivators. The desolate border situation is urgent. A great battle on the verge of erupting. Taodai King, Zhan Yuan, Gu Jinluan. All cultivators above the self-severing realm are to follow me to the desolate border. Those who refuse to be recruited will be killed without exception. When his cold voice sounded, the Devil Leader King didn't say anything else, turning around to leave, as if he wasn't worried that these fellas wouldn't come. The 5 great old giants and the self-severing realm sect masters looked at each other. After a moment of hesitation, they followed the Devil Leader King. It wasn't that they wanted to go, but rather that if they didn't go, the clans they represented would immediately be wiped out. In other words, this was a type of disguised threat. In the 3,000 Dao provinces, even though they were unmatched overlords, This was on the premise that those ancestors who guarded the desolate border for 10,000 years didn't return. It was rumored that among those ancestors, there was no lack of existences who had already reached the supreme being level. Master, the desolate border recruitment they spoke of, what kind of place is that? While looking in the direction the 5 great overlords left, Shurhao raised his head towards Chu Bei in confusion, his eyes carrying curiosity. A battlefield. You'll know when you get there. After saying this, Chu Bei raised his hand, releasing an expanse of ripples, bringing Shurhao, Chao Yusheng, and Yi Qingxian away. 15 minutes later. Master, this place is so gloomy. Shurhao tightly gripped Chu Bei's large hand. When he looked at the surrounding environment, he shrunk his neck. Chao Yusheng also mysteriously became timid. Chu Bei didn't head to the desolate border alone, but rather like all of the other cultivators who were recruited, the Devil Leader King brought them to the desolate border. Of course, Chu Bei didn't stay with the large group, instead following while hiding in the void. Right now, the ancient land they were in, even though ancient trees towered into the heavens, vegetation lush and verdant, there wasn't the slightest bit of aura. There were no birds to be seen, no beast roars to be heard, to the extent where not even an ant could be seen. It was as if this wasn't a forest, but rather a desolate great desert, too quiet and strange. At this time, a miserable scream suddenly sounded from up ahead. Devil Leader King, what is going on? After the miserable scream, what sounded next was the Taotai King's furious roar. Just now, a self-severing realm sect master, without any abnormalities, released a miserable scream, and then turned into a shriveled corpse. In almost the blink of an eye, a sect master with a powerful aura had his blood sucked dry by a mysterious object, to the extent where even his bones melted, his inner organs devoured. Truly making a fuss over nothing, this is the first time you came to the desolate border after all. The Devil Leader King swept his eyes over the Taotai King and other veteran self-release realm experts with a look of disdain. During the last desolate border great battle, there were quite a few foreign creatures who entered the 9 heavens 10 earths. They were hiding precisely in this mountain forest. When he spoke up to hear, the Devil Leader King reached out a hand, pointing towards the northwest. The sect masters looked in the direction the Devil Leader King was pointing in. Their pupils immediately contracted, expressions of horror appearing on their faces. The scene before their eyes left them alarmed. More than 10 corpses hung from an ancient tree. These corpses, even after being dried, still released sparkling light. They were clearly incomparably powerful existences when they were alive. Just what kind of existences are the creatures on the other side of the desolate border? The Taotai King frowned as he looked towards the Devil Leader King. As soon as his confused voice sounded, with a chi sound, a withered blade of grass moved, rushing towards him. The Taotai King immediately felt a hint of chilliness. His figure moved without the slightest bit of hesitation, barely avoiding this attack. Honglong. A sky-shocking noise sounded. That withered blade of grass directly smashed a black great mountain that towered into the clouds into powder, sinister symbols flickering about at the location of the explosion. Who? It wasn't just the Taotai King. The old celestial, immortal palace master, and the other overlords all shouted at the same time. Just that seemingly unremarkable withered blade of grass was already enough to injure them. This was unimaginable. Just a single blade of grass already had such terrifying power, then just how powerful was the one behind the scenes? Immediately afterwards, the cultivators released their divine senses, gazing all around, their faces carrying seriousness and vigilance. After crossing the desolate border for so many years, this is the first time we've seen so much food. We really are lucky. A divine will mysteriously sounded in everyone's minds. Open, the old celestial shouted, his eyes flashing with radiance. The heavenly eyes could see through the void, directly looking at the source. Soon afterwards, he saw a lump of something black in the void. However, right at this moment, his eyes felt a wave of pain. A streak of scarlet multicolored light appeared there, simply like a nail, stabbing into his eyes. Scarlet light flickered, and then that mysterious creature disappeared. Chapter 448. It's coming. With a kong-chong sound, Immortal Palace's palace master brandished the halberd in his hands, hacking backwards. This was a type of instinct, because the fine hairs on his back stood on end. He sensed danger approaching. Sparks flew in all directions. An expanse of bone text was erased. That creature released a sphere of light that blocked the sword core. In addition, a wave of scorching heat surged towards Immortal Palace's palace master's body. Demon Leader King. What kind of thing is this exactly? Immortal Palace's palace master questioned the Demon Leader King. His full-strength halberd could break the heavens and shatter heavenly secret treasures, yet just now, it was obstructed, to the extent where it was almost invaded by the other party's terrifying power. The Demon Leader King didn't say anything. Only, endless symbols appeared beneath his feet, shrinking the earth to inches. He quickly moved outwards, and then a palm directly slapped outwards. Chi-chi. Within the sound of burning, an enormous mountain melted into magma, exploding there. In the void, a lump of black matter disappeared. Right at this time, Gujin Lonclan's brows stood vertically. He released a long roar, and then golden patterns appeared all over his body. 100,000 golden feathers flew out. All of them formed from symbols. They submerged that area of the void. That region directly exploded. The 100,000 divine feathers were like 100,000 heavenly swords as they hacked apart the void. Under the joint attacks of several great overlords, that strange creature finally rushed into the sky, revealing its original body. It was perfectly round like a ball, a meter in diameter. It was black, scorched black, and there were traces of blood. This was actually an eyeball. When it was closed, it was hidden in the void, difficult to discover. Meanwhile, when it opened its eyes slightly, scarlet light was released from its eyes like flames, but also like lightning. It could destroy all tangible matter in front of it. At this moment, it suddenly opened its eyes. Immediately afterwards, this mountain forest was filled with scarlet multicolored light, filled with blood-colored light. It carried a wave of deep killing intent, as if it fell into a bloody hell. Eyeball. Could it be that the foreign creatures are all ruined limbs like this? Were those corpses all caused by it? When they saw the creature's appearance, the group of powerful cultivators immediately revealed looks of horror. They felt a wave of heart-shaking aura from this eyeball. Demonic eye. You actually didn't die. The one who was the most shocked here was none other than the Demon Leader King. Humph, that Wang family's giant bug wants to kill this emperor? Simply a fool's dream. The eyeball bobbed up and down, releasing a divine will. Demon Chief King, just what is its origin? The old celestial frowned. Supreme Being, the eye of a foreign supreme being. He is also the foreign king of this mountain forest. The Demon Leader King took a deep breath, his face becoming overcast, a heavy expression appearing between his brows. What? Eye of the Supreme Being. Hearing the demonic Leader King's words, the cultivators present clearly trembled. But as long as there was even the slightest bit of relationship with Jizun, he was not someone they could match, even if the other party was just an eye of Jizun. In an instant, fear rose in the eyes of the cultivators. So much delicious food. It's so nutritious. Jizun opened and closed his eyes. His cold gaze swept across the crowd of cultivators, and the sound of greedy gulping could be clearly heard. It's just the severed limb of a supreme being. What's there to be afraid of? WarClan's clan chief released a loud shout. With a raise of his hand, a streak of lightning shot out from his palm. Blue rainbow radiance overflowed, rushing out like a long river. Trifling self-release brat, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. The eyeball shone, releasing a mocking divine will. Immediately afterwards, blood-colored mist rose from the eye, forcibly blocking the lightning. This wasn't all. The instant the eye shot out, blood mysteriously seeped out. It was incomparably terrifying. WarClan's clan chief's body trembled slightly. That blood corroded all things, trapping him within. Some of the blood splashed out, landing on his battle armor, immediately producing chi-chi noises. Blood pool appear. destroy. Another divine will from the Supreme Being's eye descended. They only saw the void distort, a blood pool appearing. It was completely filthy blood, possessing strange power, wishing to devour War Clan's clan chief. While looking at this blood pool, not only did the Taodai King and the other Overlord-level experts, the group of self-severing realm sect masters also finally understood why those people only had skin left behind. It was precisely because they were devoured by this blood pool. Thunder roar. The War Clan's clan chief shouted. His hands formed imprints, all types of precious light appearing in the void. Then, lightning overflowed between heaven and earth, pouring down like a torrential rain. Then, a lightning pool appeared in front of him, within it all types of lightning radiance. There were great electrical arcs, 5 elements divine lightning, and chaotic electrical radiance. This was the lightning Dao great method passed down by the War Clan's ancestor, directly producing a lightning pool. Kacha. Lightning radiance flickered about, lightning striking down. The lightning radiance that casually splashed out from within formed terrifying power, resisting that blood pool. In the end, the two pools collided. The battlefield erupted with exceptional radiance. Pong! A low rumbling noise sounded. The radiance scattered. The battlefield scene became clear. Right now, the War Clan's clan chief was in a sorry state. His golden battle armor blasted to pieces, his entire body covered in injuries. His entire body flew out, smashing into several mountain peaks, the distant forest even more so destroyed beyond recognition. Zhang Yuan was actually defeated. He is one of the 3,000 Dao province's 10 great experts, yet not even he is this eye's opponent. While looking at the pale-faced War Clan's clan chief who returned to Devil Leader King's side, the sect masters revealed horrified expressions, their eyes full of disbelief. If it wasn't for this emperor only having a single eye, even if there were tens of thousands of ants like you all, I would still be instantly killed. The Supreme Being's eyes moved about, carrying ice-cold killing intent. His will was extremely clear, feeling that not even a self-release realm cultivator could be instantly killed. This really was a loss of face. This fella has an extraordinary status in the other side. Even though what we are facing right now is only a single eye, we still cannot act carelessly. Attack together. Devil Leader King's expression was incomparably serious, taking the initiative to release several streaks of terrifying light. Taodai King, Old Celestial, Gu Jinluan clan chief, and the self-severing realm sect masters all gave each other a look, nodding at the same time, all of them immediately releasing their most powerful attacks. In that instant, several hundred terrifying attacks gathered, all of them shooting towards the Supreme Being's eye. Ants will still be ants in the end. What use is there no matter how many there are? The Supreme Being's divine will of disdain descended. He released a shout, his eyes turning from black to scarlet red, as if a sea of blood was roiling. Powerful killing intent surged like a great river, engulfing the heavens. Walala! A roiling sea of blood gushed out from the eye. Wherever it passed, the void distorted and collapsed. Chila! In that instant, the sea of blood merged with the attacks of countless cultivators. The two sides were in a deadlock. How is this possible? Even after gathering all of our strength, we still aren't his match. Has the Supreme Being already become terrifying to this degree? Even if it is just a single eye, we still cannot contend against him. Damn it! Could it be that we are going to die here before even reaching Desolate Border? Countless cultivators' divine force all struck into the divine radiance above. However, despite this being the case, they could only slow down the speed at which the sea of blood approached. As time went on, divine force was continuously exhausted. The cultivators' faces gradually turned pale, their auras clearly becoming chaotic as well. Honglong! Another great noise sounded. Under the roar of the Supreme Being's eye, the sea of blood surged, the terrifying energy contained within rising to another level. Right at this moment, the sea of blood destroyed the joint attacks of countless experts like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Pu Piu. The cultivators, including the Demon Leader King and the other experts, were all covered in blood. As they looked at the sea of blood that surged down, Their pupils inexplicably contracted, a feeling of fear surging within their minds. Kacha, Kacha. However, when they saw that they were about to be swallowed up by the sea of blood, the cultivator's eyes filled with unwillingness. The boundless sea of blood suddenly stopped. Then, the sea of blood seemed to have frozen, suffering a terrifying blow, shattering in large amounts, turning into chunks that smashed towards the great earth below. What is going on? Could it be that the ancestors of Imperial Past took action? The expressions of the sect masters stared blankly. They looked at the chunks of blood below. When they snapped back to reality, they revealed looks of joy. Who? The Supreme Being's eyes narrowed, dark light sweeping through the surroundings. In the end, they stopped in a certain direction. In that direction, a young man brought 2 children and a beautiful woman over while stepping on void ripples. Turns out it was Bosch Chu. He actually came to Desolate Border as well. It was him who saved us. With him here, we are safe. When they saw the appearance of the one who came, some of the self-severing realm sect masters who came from a mortal tomb were first stunned, and then they cheered. Tao Dai King, Old Celestial, War Race Clan Master, and the other Overlord-level experts gave each other a look. After a moment of shock, they released a sigh of relief at the same time. The stone hanging in their hearts seemed to have been settled, as if they saw a life-saving straw. What kind of background does he have? Why have I never seen him before? When he sensed the expressions of a mortal palace master, ancient golden imperial clan master, and the others, devil leader king revealed a look of confusion, his eyes carrying confusion, an ancient existence that stands at the peak of supreme being. No, it should be a terrifying existence that surpasses supreme being. Old Celestial patted devil leader king's shoulder, his face carrying worship and respect towards Chu Bei. Was it you just now? The Supreme Being's eyes locked onto Chu Bei. When his cold voice sounded, large amounts of blood surged in front of him again, rushing towards Chu Bei with Walala sounds. Chu Bei indifferently shot the eye a look, not giving any reply. He only raised his hand, pointing outwards. A half-transparent battle spear formed from chaotic ripples directly shot out. Chila. The battle spear pierced through the sea of blood, instantly stabbing into the Supreme Being's eye. The Supreme Being's eyeball cried out loudly, blood continuously flowing out. Its entire body became even more scorched black, as if it suffered a heavy blow. It was clear that it didn't expect that seemingly unremarkable primal chaos battle spear to be able to so easily pierce through its sea of blood. As a result, it wasn't on guard at all, pierced through by the battle spear just like that. This is impossible. Soon after, the Supreme Being's eyeball sensed something even more terrifying. Even with its divine force, it actually couldn't force this primal chaos battle spear out. It was stuck in the depths of its eye the entire time. Moreover, this battle spear continuously trembled, the spear tip carrying blazing light, carrying terrifying destructive tearing force, currently quickly erasing its life force. Under the tearing of the primal chaos battle spear, the Supreme Being's eye began to scatter, the originally black pupil also becoming white, releasing a miserable howl. Damn it, there will be a day when we meet again. At that time, this emperor will definitely tear your corpse into 10,000 pieces, grind your bones to ashes, make you suffer all types of torment, forever unable to reincarnate. The Supreme Being's eyes distorted, glaring fixedly at Chu Bei. A divine will full of killing intent descended, exploding with a pong sound, shaking the earth and mountains, shattering the heavens. Chapter 449. Dead, it's dead. No, this is only the eye of that foreign unmatched Supreme Being. His original body is still alive, on the other side of Desolate Border. However, despite this being the case at the very least, we eliminated a great disaster from this mountain forest. The sect masters shot a look in the direction the Supreme Being's eye exploded, and then their eyes landed on Chu Bei's body, their eyes full of respect. Many thanks to Senior for taking action to save us. Is your respected self also heading to Desolate Border? The old Celestial hesitated for a moment. After cupping his fists towards Chu Bei in gratitude, he asked this probingly. I had nothing better to do, so I decided to take a look. Chu Bei's hands were behind him, speaking extremely calmly. Senior, if our side is defeated, will your respected self take action? Demon Leader King asked. Perhaps. Chu Bei replied indifferently, his voice not carrying the slightest bit of emotion. When they heard this, the sect masters revealed looks of joy. This was but an existence who had a chance of achieving immortality. It was equivalent to having another top-level fighting force, to the extent where it could affect the balance of the situation. 15 minutes later. Is this the city that guards desolate border? Heavens! Can it still be considered a city? These buildings, aren't they just too massive? Even those as powerful as the old celestial and other old giants looked forward in a stupefied manner, feeling a wave of dizziness, their expressions sluggish. They only saw an expanse of dusky at the limits of the horizon, connected to heaven and earth, occupying all of this space, towering into outer space, existing since ancient times, large to the point where one couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. This city was too large. Even if they used the heavenly eyes, they still couldn't see through the source, see through it clearly. They could only roughly see that this was an enormous city, incomparably vast, as tall as the heavens, towering into the heavens. If it was a normal person's naked eye, they would only see a dusky wall that connected heaven and earth, boundless without end. When one arrived here, it really would make one feel insignificant, because it was just too vast. In the city's surroundings, great stars moved about one after another, revolving around it. This city was who knew how many tens of thousands of li in size. It sat there just like that, towering for endless time without falling. As far as the eye could see, it was as if they arrived before the heavens were opened, feeling that type of grandeur and magnificence. Master, this city is so big. Sure Hao grabbed Chu Bei's large hand, his eyes becoming round. He couldn't help but cry out in alarm. Even the stars revolve around it. I wonder how it was built back then. Look carefully. Even the bricks of the city are not ordinary. It's stars and meteorites. What kind of cultivation is needed to do such a thing? The more the sect masters looked, the more shocked they became. This huge city wasn't made of ordinary bricks, but rather refined from great stars. In the end, they were piled together to form this majestic imperial city. Let's enter the city. As soon as the demonic leader king's voice fell, he took the lead and flew into the imperial city. The sect masters recovered from their shock and followed closely behind. Rumble. Chu Bei and the others had just entered the large city when they were attracted by a series of rumbling sounds. Looking down, they saw that it was a small tribe in the city. Right now, there were several armored warriors fighting intensely with a middle-aged man dressed in beast skin clothes. One could vaguely hear the angry curses and threats coming from these warriors' mouths. Senior, this is the Sinner's Blood tribe. They didn't listen to the conscription, so they were forcefully arranged. This is a common occurrence. When he saw Chu Bei stop, the demon leader king spoke, his voice carrying respect. Sinner's blood? When he heard the demon leader king's words, Chu Bei narrowed his eyes, his expression becoming a bit ugly. Senior, they were sent here by Sin Province. Your respected self should also know that in the 3,000 Dao provinces, Sin Province's people are all the descendants of traitors. That is why normally, they would charge at the very front of the battlefield. The demon leader king continued, What are their surnames? Chu Bei pointed below, calmly looking at the demon leader king. Surname sure, a great sinner's surname. The demon leader king said as things were. What makes you so sure that they are Sinner's blood descendants? When he heard the surname sure, Chu Bei's face became more and more overcast. He coldly looked at the demon leader king. Senior, is your respected self related to this stone clan? The demon leader king naturally heard Chu Bei's tone, immediately changing his tone and asking. The Taodai king, Immortal Palace's palace master, and the others behind him also revealed curious expressions. Chu Bei didn't reply to the demon leader king, directly bringing Sure Hao towards the tribe below. On the battlefield, that middle-aged man roared loudly, his aura continuously rising. An ancient Sin character was imprinted between his brows, blood energy pervading the air around the symbol. The middle-aged man already ignited his divine flame, his cultivation already at the peak of the true self realm. However, the 6 soldiers surrounding him were similarly true self-realm cultivators. As a result, as time went on, the middle-aged man gradually fell into a disadvantageous position, the situation becoming a bit unfavorable. Sure, Tion, are you going to openly defy the decree? A soldier shouted loudly, his voice incomparably fierce. Having me enter the battlefield is fine. I have nothing to say. However, my child is only 10 years old, yet you all still want him to enter the battlefield with you. Isn't this going a bit too far? Sure, use innate talent. You all have seen it for yourselves. 10-year-old engravement realm. Forget about the 3,000 Tao provinces, even if we survey the entire 9 heavens 10 earths, whose innate talent can compare to his. As long as he is given time, allowed to grow up, even if he doesn't need 1,000 years, perhaps only 100 years, he will be able to reach that supreme being position. At that time, wouldn't our human race have another unmatched expert overseeing desolate border? Yet now, you all want him to enter the battlefield right now. Isn't this clearly cutting off a future supreme being? I do not agree with the decision made by the higher-ups. The middle-aged man's hair stood up in anger, the Sin character between his brows becoming more and more suffused with blood energy, his aura also becoming more and more berserk. Sir, sure you really is still a child. You all are sending him to the battlefield like this. Isn't it the same as sending him to his death? After tens of thousands of years, he is our tribe's most talented individual. Please report this to the higher-ups and give him time to grow. Inside the tribe, men dressed in beast skins walked up one after another, begging for help. There was no lack of aged elders among them. Audacious, openly defying the decree, is your tribe trying to collectively rebel? That soldier released a cold snort, his cold eyes sweeping over the tribesmen who walked up. Father, let me go with them. I won't die on the battlefield. At this time, a gray-clothed boy about 10 years old walked out from the crowd. He met the soldier's gaze without the slightest bit of fear, his small face filled with unswerving determination. Take him away. The leading soldier glanced at the black-clothed boy, then waved his hand at the other soldiers. With me here, don't even think about taking my child away. The middle-aged man shouted angrily, but before he could make a move, a terrifying attack landed on the bodies of those soldiers even faster than him. Pong! With a loud sound, the 3 soldiers who had reached out to grab the 10-year-old boy were suddenly sent flying by a terrifying energy. Poochie! The 3 true First Realm soldiers directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies streaked across the sky like cannonballs, then fiercely smashed into the ground made of meteorites, creating deep craters one after another. Who is so audacious, actually daring to injure my Gene family soldiers? The sudden turn of events caused the leading soldier's expression to instantly change. He tilted his head and scanned the surroundings, finally his gaze landing on the strange ripples that had appeared in the air. Within the ripples, Chu Bei's group slowly appeared. It's you. The leading soldier of the Gene family coldly stared at Chu Bei, his face surging with cold killing intent. If you don't scram, then die. Chu Bei stood with his hands behind his back, coldly glancing at the remaining 3 soldiers. His indifferent voice did not contain the slightest bit of emotion. Hearing this, the leading soldier was furious. Just as he was about to open his mouth to shout, he sensed an incomparably terrifying pressure enveloping his entire body. Immediately, a wave of coldness surged in his heart, and the curses that had already reached his mouth were forcefully swallowed back down. Let's go. The leading soldier unwillingly glared at Chu Bei, then brought the other 2 soldiers and flew towards the east. Senior, they are Gene family soldiers. In Imperial City, Gene family is a long-life family, and their founder, Gene Taijun, is a supreme being guarding the desolate border. It's not easy to provoke them. While looking in the direction the 3 soldiers flew in, the Devil Leader King took a step forward, and then said, in Imperial City, Gene family is used to dominating. With their nature of seeking revenge for the smallest grievance, they definitely won't let your distinguished self's previous actions go. This one has already given them a chance. If they really don't know how to appreciate kindness, then this one doesn't mind wiping them out. Even though Chu Bei's voice wasn't loud, it was full of unmatched dignity, directly shaking the hearts of these sect masters. Many thanks for benefactor's assistance. The middle-aged man's eyes carried gratitude. After cupping his fists towards Chu Bei and expressing his thanks, a bit of worry appeared on his face. Benefactor, your respected self shouldn't have offended Jin family for us. Master, this disciple's forehead is hurting, as if something is going to come out. Suddenly, Shihao shook Chu Bei's large hand. As soon as his tender voice sounded, the space between his brows suddenly released a dazzling scarlet radiance. In the next moment, under everyone's eyes, bloody mist pervaded the air between Shihao's brows, gradually interweaving into an ancient sin symbol. It was exactly the same as the one between the middle-aged man's brows, but it was even more dazzling and resplendent. Sin, sinner's blood symbol. This is the most dazzling sinner's blood symbol I've ever seen. I never expected this little fella to actually be a sinner's blood descendant. Isn't he Boss Chu's disciple? This means that Boss Chu really does have some kind of connection with the sinner's blood descendant. When they saw the blood-colored Sin character appear between Shihao's brows, including the Devil Leader King, Tao Dai King, Old Celestial, and the other overlords, the group of cultivators all revealed expressions of shock. The Stone Clan middle-aged man and Stone Clan villagers on the side also revealed looks of shock. They all looked at Shihao in a stupefied manner, their eyes focusing on the space between Shihao's brows. They were actually momentarily unable to snap back to reality. Little child, what is your surname? An elder walked up and took the initiative to ask while looking at Shihao. Grandpa, my surname is Shih. My name is Shihao. Shihao obediently said. As expected, the elder released a light sigh. The people here still don't know that you have this surname. Hurry and change your name. Also, put away the symbol between your brows. Change my name? Why do I have to change my name? I am just going to be called Shihao. Shihao was extremely stubborn. You are still young. You don't understand anything. Our surname Shi represents sinners. Here, Huang won't have any good endings. The end result will always be dying on the battlefield. The elder shook his head, his sigh carrying helplessness. Why? Shihao was confused. He raised his head, a look of confusion on his face. Because we are surnamed Shi, we are destined to die in battle. In the past, Stone Clan was one of the most powerful powers in this city. But now, everything has changed. Before the elder spoke, the 10-year-old boy named Shiryu spoke with unwillingness. According to what the boy said, in the most ancient era, Stone Clan's population was great, experts as common as clouds. They had fundamental authority in Imperial Pass. However, an old case was unearthed, and they became sinners' blood descendants. The situation immediately changed. Ever since then, as long as they went out, Stone Clan's people had to be at the very front. Countless clansmen died. No matter how many geniuses they had, how many experts they had, they still couldn't withstand this type of malicious loss. After endless time passed, now, the powerful clansmen had all withered away. Generation after generation passed. A great clan declined. Blood, bones, and tears. It was too unbearable to look back on. It was just too bleak. Now, Stone Clan's population in Emperor City didn't exceed 1,000, and this was still the result of the higher-level figures thinking about their past relationship, doing everything they could to protect them. Otherwise, the clan would have long been wiped out. Master, am I really a sinner's descendant? Shihao raised his head, looking towards Chu Bei. Of course not. Chu Bei picked up Shihao, pinching his cheeks. Then what's with the sin character on my forehead?
Shihao asked with a pout.
This isn't the symbol of sinner's blood. It represents radiance and glory. It is the glory your ancestors obtained from killing millions and millions of foreign creatures. Chu Bei's lips carried a smile. Radiance and glory? When he heard Chu Bei's words, the elder on the side frowned slightly. Benefactor, does your respected self know about the past events? Honglonglong. Without waiting for Chu Bei to speak, vicious birds and ferocious beasts spread their wings, flying over from the distant horizon, casting down large amounts of shadows. On top of them sat powerful knights. Soon after, these powerful knights landed in Stone Clan's tribe. Those are Jin family's enforcers. When he saw who it was that came, Shirtion's expression immediately changed greatly. At the same time, his aura quickly rose to the peak, making preparations to fight at any time. The one at the head of this group of knights looked extremely young, his skin fair. Even though he was male, his entire being was soft and feminine, a bit sickly. He sat on the back of a southernly divine flame rhinoceros. That mount was extremely unordinary, surging with purple energy. Southernly flames curled about it, clearly a divine ancient beast. Why didn't you all receive the decree my Jin family sent down? Are you openly defying the law? Jin Jifei's cold eyes landed on Shirtion's body, his cold voice carrying killing intent. My son's talent is exceptional, able to reach the supreme being level in less than 1,000 years. Yet you all want him to head to the battlefield at the age of 10. What is the meaning of this? Who was the one who sent down this decree? When he faced Jin Jifei's eyes, Shirtion's face didn't show the slightest trace of fear, only strong hatred. In the most distant era, Stone Clan was Emperor City's #1 emperor clan. Yet now, they had already fallen to the point where they had to accept the decree of another, moreover couldn't even resist. This is a decree personally sent down by the ancestor. What? Could it be that you all still want to go against it? Jin Jifei shouted. Turns out it was Jin Taijun. Devil Leader King revealed a look of shock, unable to help but cry out in alarm. As a long-life family, Jin family had many old ancestors, but there was only one who was called the Ancestor, precisely one of Imperial Pass' unmatched supreme beings who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. In Imperial Pass, she had absolute authority. Even if it was just a casual sentence, it would still be a decree. Chapter 450. As expected, it was her again. A Stone Clan elder clenched his fists tightly, his senile appearance swept away, an incomparably terrifying aura seeping out from his body. This was actually a self-severing realm sect master-level expert. 10,000 years ago, my son ignited his divine flame, just becoming #1 in Imperial Pass younger generation, and then he was forcefully sent to the very front lines, only later on being killed by the foreign villains. Back then, that decree also came from Jin Taijuan's mouth. The elder's words carried killing intent, his anger overflowing as he stared at Jin Jifei, veins bulging. Just when will your Jin family let my Stone Clan go? Has our clan not withered enough yet? As long as a freak with exceptional talent appears, you all have to think of a way to kill him in the cradle. When they heard the elder's words, Tao Dai King, Old Celestial, and the other experts who had just been recruited looked at each other, their eyes carrying sympathy, but no one spoke up for him. Stone Clan was a sinner's blood clan, so the other emperor clans in Imperial Pass naturally weren't willing to see Stone Clan's experts rise up. After all, for the latter, this was a hidden danger. 10,000 years ago, you didn't dare resist. Could it be that you want to resist this time? Jin Jifei sneered, his eyes sweeping over the Stone Clan members, disdain between his brows. Listen to the decree, even if you have to die. Only that little fellow will die. If you defy the decree, your entire Stone Clan will be removed from Imperial Pass today. When Cold in the Forest's threatening voice sounded, Jin Jifei stood up, a great halberd appearing in his hands, terrifying aura spreading outwards. He was Jin family's enforcer, a powerful existence at the peak of self-severing realm. You bully others too far. Jin Jifei's threatening voice sounded by their ears. The elder, Shirtion, and the others' eyes became bloodshot, the killing intent in their eyes wishing they could hack the other party to pieces. Just bring me away. Sure you walked towards Jin Jifei. When he passed by Shirtion's side, he said, Father, I cannot drag down all of Stone Clan. Perhaps when we reach the battlefield, my life can be exchanged for the lives of 100 foreign creatures. Child, Father will go with you. Shirtion grabbed Yu's hand. After saying this, they walked towards Jin Jifei together. Since you also want to die, then I'll bring you with me. Jean Jifei released a cold snort. It seems like there is no need for Jean family to continue existing in Imperial Pass. Right at this moment, a faint sigh drifted through the air and lingered in the ears of every cultivator present for a long time. The moment the voice rang out, Shirtian and his son, who were originally heading towards Jean Jifei, were inexplicably pulled back by an invisible force. How arrogant! Who dares to be so arrogant? Truly savage. Jean Jifei's face darkened. Lord Enforcer, he was the one who disregarded the dignity of the Jean family and killed 3 of my subordinates. At this time, one of the warriors behind Jean Jifei pointed his finger at Chu Bei. It was one of the 3 warriors that Chu Bei had let go of. I am still too merciful. Chu Bei shook his head. His voice was as calm as water without any emotion. Then, he glanced at the warrior who spoke. Bang! In an instant, the expressions of the 3 warriors twisted. They were in extreme pain, and before they could even scream, they exploded with a bang. Their flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Damn it! You actually dare kill my Jean family's people in front of my face. Jean Jifei was shocked. When he snapped back to reality, his cold eyes stared at Chu Bei like a viper. Immediately afterwards, his entire body erupted with shocking radiance, especially the space between his brows. It was resplendent and dazzling, as if a sun rose, illuminating the heavens. Benefactor, this Jean Jifei's luck is deep, previously obtaining great natural luck. When he was young, he accidentally ate a rare soul-nurturing divine grass in the great wastelands. Later on, he made it through the divine medicine's effects, surviving. Moreover, under the help of the clan's experts, he refined his soul in every possible way, making his primordial spirit especially powerful. Stone Clan's elder walked up, giving Jean Jifei a serious look. At the same time, he reminded Chu Bei, because of this, he is proficient in using his primordial spirit to kill. Your respected self has to be careful of his soul attacks. Those who humiliate my Jean family die. When the cold voice sounded, a little figure walked out from between Jean Jifei's brows. It was resplendent and dazzling, bathed in divine and blazing radiance, as if a heavenly sun was surging. Hong! The little figure trembled, immediately bringing about an intense rumbling sound. The void was torn apart, and a black hole appeared. The scene was horrifying. Just how powerful is this primordial spirit? With just a single thought, it can actually bring about such destructive results. If we resist, I fear that he can wipe out our entire clan by himself. Stone Clan's experts all looked at Jean Jifei in horror. The other party was too domineering, actually directly bringing out his primordial spirit. The little figure swayed slightly, bringing about dong-dong sounds. It was as if the immortal court's war drums were being beaten, intimidating everyone. The faces of those with weaker cultivations immediately paled, their souls suffering from an attack. Compared to the Stone Clan's people, the Demon Leader King, Old Celestial Being, and the other experts all looked at the Jean family's law enforcer with ridicule, their eyes carrying pity and sympathy. Hurry and look, he really turned into a sun. This is the embodiment of a perfect primordial spirit. The most domineering and young, powerful beyond compare. The Stone Clan's people's faces became increasingly heavy. Under their gazes, Jean Jifei's little primordial spirit melted, turning into a sun. It slowly rose, making everyone feel an urge to prostrate themselves in worship. This was one of several legendary phenomena. Turning into a sun meant that Jean Jifei's primordial spirit was extremely domineering and powerful. Few people could compare to it. It could be said that Jean Jifei's primordial spirit was the most perfect primordial spirit phenomenon of the self-severing realm. Kill. As the cold syllable fell, Jean Jifei's primordial spirit condensed a soul spear. With a whoosh, it shot directly towards Chu Bei's forehead. Wherever the soul spear passed, a terrifying domain was formed, invisibly distorting space and time. How terrifying! Will our benefactor be able to take it? The Stone Clan's elder's face was pale, and he trembled as he looked at Chu Bei, deep worry on his face. Looking back at Chu Bei, He had been very relaxed from beginning to end. There was still a smile at the corner of his lips, because this Jin Jifei was no different from an ant to him. He didn't need to store up power. He just casually reached out, and with a light wave, the chaotic battle axe easily shattered the soul spear. Then, under the disbelieving gazes of the countless golden-armored knights, it chopped down on Jin Jifei's body. Pung! Before that confident Jin Jifei's expression could change, his flesh and primordial spirit exploded at the same time, directly turning into nothingness. How is this possible? When they saw this scene, the expressions of the remaining Jin family knights changed greatly, fear surging within them. However, before they could flee, that battle axe smashed into their bodies. Now, it seems like the first thing this one did after coming to Desolate Border was to wash away this sinner's blood name. As for this Jin family, if they are wiped out, then so be it. An indifferent voice sounded from Chu Bei's mouth, not only echoing through Stone Clan tribe, but also resounding through all of Imperial Pass. When these words fell, Imperial Pass erupted into commotion. Did you all hear that? Whose voice is this? Who is speaking? Has the one who spoke gone mad? The matter of sinner's blood has already become a taboo topic in the pass, yet he is actually saying that he is going to absolve the sinner. What is even crazier is that he is actually saying that he is going to wipe out Jin family. Jin family is Imperial Pass Emperor clan, a long-life family overseen by an unmatched supreme being. Just what kind of background does this person have? Provoking Jin family, is he tired of living? Within the several tens of thousands of li of Imperial Pass City, Chu Bei's indifferent voice echoed. In that instant, all of the tribes became noisy, cultivators discussing spiritedly one after another, their faces full of shock, carrying shock. They didn't dare believe that there was actually someone who dared challenge Jin family's dignity in Imperial Pass City. In Stone Clan tribe, the Stone Clansmen's expressions were stupefied, a bit stupefied as they looked at Chu Bei. Apart from gratitude, there was even more shock. Their shock didn't only come from the other party's terrifying strength of casually killing the self-severing realm Jin Jifei. It was even more so because of the other party's indifferent words that drifted into the distance. Devil Leader King, Taodai King, Old Celestial, and the other self-release realm cultivators also revealed expressions of disbelief. They never would have thought that this boss Chu would actually stir up such a huge commotion as soon as he arrived in Imperial Pass City. Not only did he want to wipe out the sinner's blood, he even directly said that he was going to wipe out Jin family. Benefactor, the sinner's blood descendant matter has already been decided. We have also accepted this result. Your respected self cannot make those long-life families your enemy for us. Their backing is too terrifying. Stone Clan's elder walked up, bowing towards Chu Bei. What this great one is doing isn't only for you all, but even more so for the lower realm, for Sin Province, for my precious disciple. Chu Bei smiled calmly, patting Shi Hao's little head. Old ancestor, this Jin family has an important position in Imperial Pass, an indispensable power in Desolate Border. Your respected self cannot be rash. Different from Stone Clan's worries, Devil Leader King and the other sect masters seem to be more worried that Chu Bei would weaken the 9 Heavens 10 Earth's defensive power. If what this great one said is correct, they have never fought on the front lines, right? They are only flaunting their might in Imperial Pass. What is the point of having this type of family? Nothing more than a vermin. If the top-level fighting strength isn't enough, then this great one will replace this Jin Taijuan's position. As for the sinner's blood matter, it is time to obtain justice for those little fellas from back then. Chu Bei's eyes calmly swept forward, full of unmatched dignity. When these indifferent words sounded, with a wave of his sleeve, primal chaos rippled outwards. In the blink of an eye, including Devil Leader King and the other sect masters, Stone Clan's elder, everyone disappeared. Emperor City was divided into an inner city and an outer city. The outer city was gathered in the form of tribes, thousands of different surname tribes of different sizes living here. Meanwhile, the inner city, compared to the outer city, even though it was much smaller, there were several emperor clans living here. No lack of long-life families. Because the descendants of those unmatched primogenitors lived in the inner city since birth, the inner city was far more bustling than the outer city. There were many open markets, bustling with activity. Great winds roared, stirring up imperial pass winds and clouds. Chu Bei brought Devil Leader King and the others, crossing 10,000 li with a single step. Wherever they passed, fragments would fly about, the sun, moon, and stellar streams moving, the scene grand, aura boundless. Benefactor, your respected self, what cultivation realm are you at exactly? Stone Clan's elder was stuttering. The other party actually created such a shocking scene with just a single step. In the blink of an eye, their group appeared above a boundless great earth in the inner city. Below, dragons and snakes rose from the land, cheilants crouching on the mountains, phoenixes flying on the cliffs, auspicious energy surging. Of course, the so-called dragons and snakes weren't true dragons, but rather giant mountains. Those giant mountain ranges that were like the backbone of heaven and earth wriggled about one after another, side by side, swirling with immortal white mist, as if dragons and snakes were rising together. As for those great peaks, they were like cheilants, purple energy rising in spirals, dense mists rising, covered in zoysia, full of auspicious and divine feeling. The cliffs were precipitous, as if phoenixes were flying one after another, carrying a transcendent feeling. This was especially the case with some caves on the cliffs that released multicolored light, as if wings were unfolding. This was one of Imperial Pass' most well-known Emperor Clan caves. It belonged to Jin family, known as Long Life Golden Manor. In the past, there were long life beings who emerged here, unbreakable through all tribulations, eternally undying. In immortal ancient great era, this family was powerful to the extreme, still glorious and brilliant even in this age. After endless time passed, no one dared to behave atrociously, not even Emperor clans willing to provoke them. Senior, please think thrice before you act. Jin family is a long-life family. The Demon Leader King stood behind Chu Bei, continuously advising. The great earth was boundless, ancient trees towering into the heavens, all types of divine birds and vicious beasts moving about. In the skies, there were even more divine birds and demonic birds spreading their wings, dancing together. Demon Leader King, you actually dare trespass into Jin family's territory. Do you want to die? At this time, a deep and cold shout sounded from the mountain range below. They only saw a purple gold violent ape that was 100 zhang tall, in its hands a war spear, jumping out from the mountain forest below. The great earth immediately began to shake. This violent ape's entire body's purple fur was shining, as if cast from metal, extremely ferocious. This was, without a doubt, a great wasteland descendant, extremely powerful. Right now, its large eyes were coldly staring at the Demon Leader King, killing intent surging. Senior, it is Jin family's guardian beast. The Demon Leader King shot the purple gold violent ape a look, and then said respectfully to Chu Bei. Chu Bei nodded slightly, calmly looking forward. There was an ancient great defensive formation there, surrounding Jin family's core region. Trespassers must all die. Realizing that it was being ignored, the purple gold violent ape roared in anger. After its violent roar, the purple gold violent ape punched through the void towards Chu Bei's group. Chu Bei glanced at the purple gold violent ape. Without saying anything, he waved his sleeve. Then, his 18th level Xiao Hei's strength was still there. This was equivalent to a real immortal strength. Immediately, a shrill cry filled the sky. The powerful violent ape puked out blood. Its entire body cracked, and with a boom, it was flung out for thousands of miles, disappearing into the sky. Oh my God! What kind of old monster is here? That is Jin family's guardian beast. Rumor has it that it has been at the peak of the self-severing realm for a long time, and is about to break through. But before this person, it was flung away like a puppet. What kind of difference is this? The difference between cloud and mud. Just who is he? Could it be that he was the one who threatened to destroy Jin family? The ones following behind him seemed to be extremely powerful as well. Apart from the Demon Leader King, There seemed to be 8 other terrifying self-release realm existences. Could it be that these people came from another long-life family? If this really is the case, then Imperial Pass is going to change. Outside the mountain range, powerful cultivators stuck their heads out one after another, their faces carrying expressions of shock. Their eyes landed on Chu Bei's group, sizing them up. Chu Bei didn't pay these surrounding people any attention. After casually eliminating the purple-gold violent ape, he appeared in front of the ancient Great Formation. Chapter 451. Honglong. Chu Bei expressionlessly swept his eyes over the ancient Great Formation. Then, his fists accumulated power, terrifying irregular scenes appearing on his fists. Chaotic ripples turned into endless ancient divine beasts, surging outwards. Immediately afterwards, a sky-shocking explosion sounded, carrying continuous clear kacha sounds. The ancient Great Formation exploded. Stop cultivating. Hurry. Hurry to Jin family's cave. Something big happened there. Jin family? Could it be related to that indistinct voice from just now? Right, that person already slaughtered his way into Jin family's cave with a wave of people. Moreover, he even killed Jin family's guardian beast, breaking through the defensive formation. What? That's but a great formation arranged by a true immortal. It was actually broken through by someone. Inside Imperial Pass, more and more experts rushed towards Jin family's cave, watching from the distance. There was no lack of cultivators from other emperor clans among them. Cultivators' eyes landed on Chu Bei's body one after another, discussing spiritedly, guessing at his identity and origins. After breaking through Jin family's ancient Great Formation, Chu Bei continued forward, tearing through everything along the way. Large amounts of symbols flickered beneath his feet, incomparably profound and complex. Wherever he passed, endless void cracks erupted, formless terrifying power directly blasting the heavens, breaking apart the heavens, scattering the clouds, as if doomsday arrived. Behind Chu Bei, the continuous mountain range below collapsed, underground magma turning into several thousand zhang tall red waves, rushing into the sky, dyeing everything scarlet red. At this moment, all types of vicious beasts roared, vicious birds crying out. Just what kind of grudge does that person have with Jin family? More and more cultivators' eyes locked onto Chu Bei's body in alarm, carrying confusion. Sigh, now, there really is no way to reconcile. While looking at the collapsing mountain range, Demon Leader King continuously sighed. The group of Stone Clan people looked at each other in dismay, momentarily not knowing what to say. They could only silently follow behind Chu Bei. Truly quite daring. Breaking my Jin family's immortal formation, offending my Jin family's dignity. You are the first person in several tens of thousands of years. Suddenly, an explosive shout sounded from the distance, this shout carrying powerful killing intent. Following this, surging golden light rushed over from Jin family's core region, accompanied by intense astral winds. Terrifying whistling sounds could be heard as the mountain swayed. Boulders over 10,000 Jin in weight flew everywhere, creating a terrifying scene. The first to appear in everyone's line of sight was a divine bird. It was incomparably enormous, and its entire body was golden. It was mystical and extraordinary, and when it spread its wings, it was tens of thousands of zhang long. It covered the sky and was shockingly resplendent. This was a terrifying bird of prey, and the cold light emitted from its eyes was terrifying to the core. That's the golden-winged Great Peng of the Jin family, and the 8th generation ancestor of the Jin family. My God, is he going to do it himself? As far as I know, he's a half-step supreme being. When the cultivators who were watching from afar saw the appearance of the ferocious bird clearly, they exclaimed in surprise. When they saw the gray-robed old man standing on the back of the golden-winged great rock, their expressions stiffened, and they were speechless. I don't care who you are, but trespassing into the Jin family's cave is a serious crime. Do you want to end your own life, or do you want me to kill you on the spot? The gray-robed old man stared at Chu Bei and shouted coldly, Tell Jin Yin to come over. I have something to ask her. Chu Bei glanced at the old man indifferently. His expression did not change at all. How dare you? Mother's name is not something you can call as you wish. Hearing the name Chu Bei uttered, the gray-robed old man's killing intent surged. Screech. Without waiting for the old man to make a move, the golden-winged great rock under his feet screeched and dived towards Chu Bei. The great rock's speed was so fast that it turned into a blinding golden light in everyone's eyes. When it was less than 300 meters away from Chu Bei, it stretched out its giant claw. In the past, I once taught your ancestor, the Kuan Pong, to comprehend the Tao. I never would have thought that its descendants would be reduced to being someone's mount. How sad. Facing the golden-winged great rock's destructive claw, Chu Bei was incomparably calm. He did not dodge or evade. Instead, he stretched out his right hand and greeted the great rock. How dare you use my ancestor as a weapon? You're courting death. Hearing Chu Bei's words, the golden-winged great rock roared angrily. Divine light filled the sky and distorted the void. Under the claw, the divine might was peerless. It shook the mountains and rivers, and the void shattered inch by inch. This scene was extremely shocking. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed. However, just as the golden-winged great rock's terrifying claw was about to pierce through Chu Bei's body, a strange scene occurred. In the center of Chu Bei's palm, a huge chaotic net gushed out. In an instant, it enveloped the giant rock that was 10,000 feet long. Then, the chaotic ripples of the net shrunk. Along with it, the great rock also changed. 80,000 feet, 50,000 feet, 30,000 feet. The great rock's body was glaring with golden light. Its body was still rushing towards Chu Bei. However, its expression became more and more painful, and its screeching became more and more miserable. When it was still half a meter from Chu Bei, it already shrunk to the size of a palm. In the end, it fell uncontrollably into Chu Bei's palm. The great rock cried out in grief. It wanted to run, but its entire body was restricted by that layer of chaotic ripples. No matter how it struggled, its wings couldn't move at all. Master, is this the pet your respected self gifted your disciple? Sure how received the great rock that was already the size of a palm from Chu Bei, rubbing it in his palm, his small face carrying excitement. Ruthless ruthlessness. The golden-winged great rock continuously fluttered about. Even though it was violent, it immediately knew that the fellow in front of it was definitely an unmatched figure, not someone it could provoke at all. Immediately, cries sounded one after another, calling for help towards the elder in the distance. The distant spectators stared blankly at the great rock that was already the size of a palm. When they snapped back to reality, they all sucked in a cold breath of air. From the aura the other party released before, he definitely already entered the self-release realm. Even in all of Imperial Pass, those at the self-release realm were top-level experts, to the extent where the most powerful individuals in some tribes still hadn't entered the self-release realm yet. If it was in the outside 9 heavens 10 earths, this would be an unmatched overlord. However, it was precisely this type of existence that was being toyed around in the palm of a 4 or 5-year-old child. Meanwhile, the instigator of all of this was that mysterious individual. Who exactly are you? When he saw the great rock subdue, Jin family's gray-clothed elder frowned. You don't have the qualifications to know. Chu Bei's voice was calm. When his voice fell, Chu Bei took action again, a finger pointing towards the elder. Offending Jin family, die. The gray-clothed elder didn't say anything else, directly using his finger like a blade, brandishing it towards Chu Bei. Resplendent blade radiance hacked apart the heavens, exceptionally sharp, powerful to an immeasurable degree. This was Supreme Being Blade energy. He already stood at the peak of self-release realm, half a foot into the Supreme Being level, only a fine line away from becoming a true Supreme Being. Chong. However, it was precisely this blade that condensed 90% of his divine force. When it faced the other party's finger radiance, that blade shattered like thin ice, completely collapsing. On the other hand, the other party's finger radiance didn't weaken in the slightest, instead quickly enlarging, shooting murderously over. No, impossible. When he sensed the ferocious power rushing at him, The gray-clothed elder's mind went cold, feeling shock and regret. He didn't dare show the slightest bit of hesitation, hurriedly activating 100 zhang-wide blue shield monument in front of him. He originally thought that the other party was just like him, also a half-step supreme being, so he didn't test the other party, immediately using 90% of his divine force. However, the instant the two attacks collided, he knew that he was wrong, moreover gravely wrong. Pong! Another sky-shocking rumbling noise sounded. The crack in the heavens became even larger, the continuous mountain range directly breaking in half, the bottomless ravine extending into Jin family's core region. The finger radiance Chu Bei released was like a heaven-supporting pillar, smashing into Jin family's gray-clothed elder's blue jade shield monument. In that instant, the shield monument shattered into tens of thousands of pieces, the finger radiance smashing fiercely into the elder's body. Pooh! Jin family's elder coughed out blood, his chest pierced through. Golden blood continuously flowed, the wound unable to heal. Jin family's elder released a miserable scream, the killing intent in his eyes becoming stronger and stronger, as well as a bit of regret. He underestimated the enemy, the one before him far from being someone he could face. The other party definitely already reached the supreme being level. Forget about the fact that you aren't a supreme being yet. Even if you entered this domain, this great one can still kill you with a single finger. Chu Bei looked at Jin family's elder with contempt. In just a single exchange, Jin family's 8th-generation ancestor, who is known as number 1 under supreme being in Imperial Pass, was actually defeated, moreover seriously injured and on the verge of death. This person has definitely reached the supreme being level. A supreme being of a region, why have I never heard of him before? Could it be that he has slept for millions of years? He is an unmatched existence who survived immortal ancients' battle. Jin family's gray-clothed elder was defeated. The cultivators watching from the distance were immediately stunned, their faces full of disbelief. Who exactly are you? What grudge do you have with my Jin family? The gray-clothed elder stabilized his body, looking at Chu Bei. A supreme being came knocking on their door. This was something that had never happened before. This great one has come for the sinner's blood, to demand justice for them. Chu Bei's powerful voice reverberated through all of Imperial Pass skies, carrying heaven overflowing power, engulfing the 9 heavens. After saying this, Chu Bei's finger pointed out, but this finger instead increased the power. No, don't. Suddenly, Jin family's elder was restricted, sensing the power of that finger. His eyes were full of alarm, unable to help but cry out. The finger's power was irreversible. Under this finger, his head was removed. Jin family's elder's entire body exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Xiao! Chu Bei brandished his sleeves, that remaining head smashing down from the horizon like a meteor, directly rushing towards Jin family's core region. There was a low explosion, and a massive palace in the core region exploded along with the old man's head, turning into countless silver metal shards that shot out in all directions. Then, Jin family's core region triggered a huge commotion. It wasn't just Jin family's branch family disciples. The direct line of descent were all alarmed as well. Countless figures flew into the sky, killing intent rushing into the heavens. The effects of this were too great. That collapsed palace was Jin family's main palace, but just now, it was blasted apart by someone, moreover by the head of one of Jin family's old ancestors. Jin family's 8th-generation ancestor is dead? Imperial Pass number 1 under Supreme Being was killed just like that. The world is changing. A Supreme Being battle is going to erupt. Killing Jin family's old ancestor is a situation where one side will fight to the death. The cultivators who witnessed the entire process were all stupefied, as if they were struck by lightning from the 9 heavens, their entire bodies going numb. Endless years ago, ever since a mortal ancient past, all the way until this great era began, this type of thing had never happened before. Chapter 452. Yet today, a mysterious supreme being of unknown origins took action. Not only did he attack Jin family, He even directly killed an old ancestor. For Jin family and all of Imperial Pass, this was a tremendous disturbance. Devil Leader King, Taodai King, and the other overlords were all absent-minded. The battle between the senior who came with them and Jin family was already unavoidable. Stone Clan's people looked at each other in dismay. They never expected that the one who sought justice for them would actually be a supreme being. For some reason, a hint of hope actually appeared in their minds. Perhaps the sinner's blood incident wasn't like what the rumors said, that there was more to the truth. Eighth generation ancestor. He was killed. The Jin family disciples who came with him snapped out of their panic, all of them looking at Chu Bei in fear, shivering all over, their figures continuously backing up. Who exactly are you? A Jin family self-severing realm cultivator asked with a trembling voice. Have Jin Yin come over? This great one has things to ask her. Chu Bei spoke again, his voice like thunder, rumbling through Imperial Pass. The same voice echoed through the air, but it was different from before. This time, when everyone heard it, it directly shook their souls. They immediately knew that Chu Bei was also a supreme being. This was a supreme being shouting at another supreme being. When they heard the name Jin Yin, the direct descendants of Jin family's core region felt their scalps go numb, shivering inwardly. Who exactly was this invader? He actually dared call their ancestor like this. Who was Jin Yin? She was the granddaughter of the one who achieved immortality in Jin family, as well as the current Jin family's ancestor. One of Imperial Pass' 4 great supreme beings, an unmatched existence who was only half a foot away from immortal ascension. Who dares act so savage here? Suddenly, Jin family's core region erupted with divine light, a powerful pressure covering heaven and earth as it swept over, engulfing all of Jin family's territory. When they looked over, they saw a person wearing a purple gold crown, moon-white Taoist robes, each step carrying stars as he walked over. His aura was too terrifying, as if an immortal descended into this world. Big bro, you were also woken up. An indifferent voice sounded. Another person walked over from another direction. White hair like snow, immortal energy covering his body, extremely world-shocking. Is eighth brother dead? A voice filled with coldness rang out. A third figure appeared. He wore a golden Taoist robe, and the sun, moon, and stars appeared beneath his feet. It was a shocking sight. Who are these 3 people? Why have I never seen these 3 people from the Jin clan? Their auras seemed to be even more terrifying than the 8th generation ancestor. Stronger than the 8th generation ancestor? He is already the strongest person below the supreme being level. Could it be that all 3 of them are already supreme beings? The appearance of these 3 people from the Jin family instantly became the focus of everyone around. The spectators in the distance were discussing and guessing their identities. Demon Leader King. Where did these 3 people come from? The Taodai King, Old Celestial, and the others looked at the Demon Leader King with puzzlement in their eyes. The auras of the 3 individuals who walked over from Jin family's core region were too terrifying. They bathed in immortal splendor, as if they already entered the long-life domain, possessing a type of unmatched power. The 3 dragons of the Jin clan, an existence who stood at the peak of self-release realm 200,000 years ago. For the sake of reaching the supreme being level, they all entered seclusion at the same time, which is why later on, Jin family's 8th generation ancestor was known as the number 1 below the supreme being level. The Demon Leader King looked at the 3 individuals who slowly walked over in shock. He took a deep breath. Now, they are willing to wake up from their seclusion. So I fear that they have already reached the supreme being level. What? 3 supreme beings? When they heard the Demon Leader King's words, the Taodai King, Old Celestial, and the other experts all sucked in a cold breath of air, their eyes filled with great shock. Stone Clan's people gave each other a look, and then they all looked towards Chu Bei, worry appearing on their faces again. As for Chu Bei, when he looked at the 3 dragons shrouded in mist, his expression didn't change in the slightest. Great ancestor, 2nd generation ancestor, and 3rd generation ancestor. They came out of seclusion. They reached the supreme being level. This means that our Jin family's 4 supreme beings are supreme beings. 3 great ancestors. It was him who killed the 8th-generation ancestor, offended Jin family's dignity, even saying that he wanted the ancestor to personally meet him. While looking at Jin family's 3 dragons, even Jin family's direct descendant disciples were stunned for a moment. Only after a long time had passed did a self-release realm expert snap back to reality, crying out in alarm. Soon afterwards, all of the disciples woke up. After guessing the 3 individuals' identities, they were all wild with joy. Jin Taijun had 8 children. The elder who was killed by Chu Bei was precisely the youngest. Among them, the oldest, second, and third were born in the same generation. The 3 of them were all powerful among their peers in Imperial Pass, almost unmatched, known as Jin family's 3 dragons. Hong Long Long. Suddenly, the mountain range trembled, the heavens rumbling with noise. At this time, 3 incomparably terrifying auras appeared from the east, west, and south. When one looked over, the void in these 3 directions split open into pitch-black openings. Within each opening stood several people. These people all had terrifying auras, powerful to the extreme. The people who walked out from the openings, even though their hair was white like snow, their skin was sparkling like that of an infant, extremely tender and smooth. This wasn't normal at all. One could tell from the great changes in their eyes that their ages were definitely terrifyingly great. However, every single one of their flesh was sparkling white, containing exuberant life energy. White hair, ruddy complexions, immortal flesh, and divine bones. This was the best description of them. Their cultivation realms were unimaginable. Even though they had lived for endless years, they still maintained exuberant life force. Wang family, those are people from the long-life Wang family. Who were those 3 people? Even Wang family's 4 ancestors are actually standing behind them. Zhao family's people also came. That is Zhao family's 7th ancestor, rumored to also be at the peak of self-release realm, number 2 under Supreme being in Imperial Pass. The auras of the 2 in front of him seemed to be even more terrifying. Those are heavenly deity institutions' 5th elder, 4th elder, and 3rd elder. Even the 2nd elder is here. Heavens, these are unmatched existences that are normally rarely seen in Imperial Pass, yet they actually all came. When the cultivators in the distance saw the appearances of the people who came from the east, west, and south, recognizing their identities and origins, their expressions were all stunned, faces full of disbelief. The number of great figures they saw today was far more than what they had seen in several tens of thousands of years added together. Right now, these great figures' eyes first landed on Jin family's 3 dragons. When they sensed the auras on the other party's bodies, they couldn't help but reveal a bit of shock and shock. However, when their eyes shifted towards Chu Bei's body, they all frowned, the shock and shock on their faces replaced by confusion. The aura of this Jin family individual was too strange. Even though they could sense that the other party's aura wasn't weaker than theirs, they couldn't tell just what level the other party's cultivation was at. You killed Old 8. Regardless of who you are, you will die today. The Jin family great dragon who walked over first released a short shout, his moon-white Taoist robes fluttering about, the purple-gold crown on his head flickering with immortal Tao might. His eyes were like stellar streams from ancient times, deep and immeasurable. His shout carried a type of demonic nature, as if it contained immortal Tao power, as if it was going to hack apart one's soul with just a shout, incomparably terrifying. Chu Bei didn't reply, only his body shone slightly. A layer of chaotic ripples scattered, erasing the terrifying sound waves that swept over. A confrontation between supreme beings, Devil Leader King, Tao Dai King, and the other experts' expressions changed. In that instant just now, this boss Chu already exchanged a blow with Jin family's great dragon. Previously, Jin family's great dragon's shout carried terrifying power. If it was them, their primordial spirits might have already been directly hacked apart. A battle of this level is astonishing as expected. It touches upon even higher great Tao profound mysteries, profound and immeasurable. Even those of us who have entered the self-release realm can only sigh in admiration, watch from the back. Old Celestial and Immortal Palace's Palace Master released a sigh of admiration. Even though your aura is strange, we can conclude that you have also reached the supreme being level. However, to dare behave atrociously in my gene family, even supreme beings have to die. Gene family's 2 dragons who were dressed in golden Taoist robes also walked up, each step carrying a star, as if he came from a world of primal chaos. An unmatched aura pervaded the air, flowing with brilliant colors, making one feel the urge to kowtow and worship him. The sun, moon, and stars embroidered on the golden magical robes rumbled with frequency as he walked, releasing rumbling noises, his aura terrifying and heaven overflowing. Nothing more than little fellas who have just entered the supreme being level. I fear that your horizons are limited to this. What you don't know is that there is always a mountain beyond the heavens, people beyond people. Chu Bei's eyes swept over Gene family's great dragon and 2 dragons, his words carrying disdain, his voice incomparably calm. Even though I don't know which clan's ancestor you are, perhaps your skills really are great, previously known as a generation-suppressing expert, intimidating everyone for a long time. However, each generation has its own talents, each dominating for 100,000 years. The era that belongs to you has already passed. Provoking my gene family like this, the only conclusion is death and Tao erased. When Cold in the Forest's voice sounded, Gene family's great dragons' moon-white Taoist robes fluttered about, strong winds roaring, the sky dome collapsing. Under his aura, heaven and earth rumbled, mountains and rivers trembling uneasily. What kind of power was this? Every word and action affected the stability of the world, intimidating everyone. Us 3 brothers have already reached the peak. Even if we fight one-on-one, we might not necessarily be weaker than you. What? Do you think you're invincible just because you're a supreme being after killing our 8th brother? Moreover, you dare to threaten to be ordinary for the blood of sinners? You're not qualified. Gene family's 2 dragons' expressions were cold. The stars on their golden Taoist robes shook violently, starlight rushing into the sky, shaking heaven and earth. Reach the peak? What a joke. You actually think you can look down on the 9 heavens and 10 earths and fight with anyone just because your cultivation has reached the peak of your life? Chu Bei snorted coldly, not showing any fear on his face. Big brother, second brother, why are you still wasting words with him? In the past, you all gave in to me. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and the old rules have not changed. I will take this fellow's head. Gene family's 3 dragons also walked forward. With a raise of their hands, they isolated a battlefield in the distant sky. With a step, he appeared in the battlefield. The galaxies around him hung down one after another, as if he was standing at the center of the vast universe. Chu Bei's hands were behind his back as his figure swayed leisurely. Then, he appeared in the sky battlefield isolated by Gene family's 3 dragons. Swish. Gene family's 3 dragons' expressions were indifferent. They didn't say much, immediately using a vicious move. He used Gene family's supreme precious technique. Rumor has it that it was passed down by that immortal from Gene family. With a wave of his hand, purple radiance was like a rainbow, stars swirling about. Streak after streak, dazzling and resplendent, about to hack Chu Bei to death. In that instant, in the sky battlefield, beams of light filled the sky like comets, smashing towards the same point. Facing this kind of terrifying attack, Chu Bei was as calm as before. With a raise of his hand, chaotic force appeared in his palm. He directly slapped out, and all of the purple radiance dimmed like candles in the wind, quickly extinguishing. Chapter 453. In the distant sky, none of the cultivators watching the battle from afar knew where the battlefield of the 3rd dragon of the Gene clan was located. They could only raise their heads in astonishment. In the battlefield, the 3rd dragon of the Gene clan was floating in the void. Looking at the chaotic power that appeared in Chu Bei's palm, there was a flash of surprise between his brows. When he came back to his senses, the 3rd dragon of the Gene clan attacked again. His celestial light shone, and the void shook violently as he launched his most powerful attack. He used himself as the Tao and turned into tens of thousands of intertwining laws, pouncing towards Chu Bei. Look, the sky is broken. As expected of one of the 3 dragons of the Jin clan, he has shocked the border for an era. He has appeared again and is even more glorious. The 3rd ancestor is mighty. Kill this invader. Countless cultivators who were watching the battle exclaimed, especially the cultivators of the Jin clan. They clenched their fists and were extremely excited. In the battlefield, stars fell. They were attracted by the great technique of the 3rd dragon of the Jin clan. After a while, a hand reached out from the tens of thousands of laws. It wrapped around all the stars in the surroundings and refined them into a sphere. With its own power of the Tao, it slammed towards Chu Bei. Chu Bei's expression remained the same. He did not dodge. He rolled up his sleeve and the sphere that was pressing towards him exploded. All the terrifying energy was swept away by his sleeve. Then, his figure moved. As he took a step, he froze the universe and instantly appeared in the tens of thousands of laws that the 3rd dragon of the Jin clan had attacked with. When the palm slammed down, there was a crisp sound. Slap. The tens of thousands of laws dispersed and the 3rd dragon of the Jin clan returned. At this moment, the 3rd dragon of the Jin clan pulled away from Chu Bei. Flames of anger burned in his eyes, and he was about to erupt. Looking closely, there was a clear palm print on his right cheek. His cultivation was extremely high. Even if his physical body was completely shattered, he could still regenerate it. However, he could not use his divine power to remove this palm print because there was an unknown and terrifying power that was resisting his divine power. Could that sound be the sound of a slap? Looking at the clear palm print on the faces of the 3 dragons of the Jin family, countless cultivators who were watching the battle were stunned, and the scene instantly became silent. The big dragon and the 2nd dragon of the Jin clan were also shocked. They didn't expect that the 3rd dragon, who had taken the initiative to attack, would be defeated in the first battle of the supreme martial artist who had come out of seclusion. I want you dead. On the battlefield, the 3rd brother of the Jin family glared at Chu Bei. He stroked his cheek with his left hand. The killing intent in his eyes was so dense that it almost materialized. His silver hair stood on end. However, before he could attack again, a figure floated in front of him. Strange chaotic ripples spread out from Chu Bei's body, and countless strange phenomena could be vaguely seen within them. This aura, in an instant, the Jin clan's 3rd brother's expression changed drastically. His anger was replaced by fear. He suddenly realized that the divine power in his body was completely suppressed by the ripples. He couldn't even leave the battlefield if he wanted to. In his line of sight, an iron lump appeared out of thin air. It came closer and closer, carrying with it the supreme law of primal chaos. Pung. The power of primal chaos engulfed the Jin clan's 3rd brother. In that instant, the latter's expression distorted, the endless natural laws within his body condensing in an attempt to resist. However, all of this was futile. Another rumbling noise sounded. The bodies of the Jin clan's 3rd dragon exploded. Before his flesh could recombine, it was swallowed up and melted by the surrounding ripples. The Jin clan's 3rd dragon released a miserable cry. His primordial spirit immediately wanted to flee, but before it could get far, it was grabbed by a giant primal chaos hand. Stop! At the same time, the Jin clan's big dragon and 2nd dragon appeared on the battlefield. Their dignified roars carried worry. When they looked at Chu Bei again, their eyes carried a bit of seriousness. Why is there such a great difference between supreme beings? Countless spectating cultivators watched the scene on the battlefield, all of them greatly shaken, their faces pale. In their eyes, Chu Bei was also a supreme being. At the same cultivation realm, he actually suppressed the Jin clan's 3rd ancestor with a raise of his hand. Not only did he crush the other party's body like crushing dry weeds, he even restrained the other party's primordial spirit. Jin clan's 3rd ancestors might intimidated imperial past for several eras, unshakable. Yet now, in his first battle after becoming a supreme being, he actually suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of this unknown boss Chu. It was just too hard to believe. Little fella, are you scared now? While looking at the Jin clan's 3rd ancestor's primordial spirit that was continuously struggling in his palm, Chu Bei revealed a smile. The great cultivation realm of Supreme being covered an extremely wide range of strength. The weak were equivalent to shrouding heaven's first-rank half-emperor, while the strong were comparable to great emperors. Supreme being could be divided into 1 to 9 ranks. Forget about the fact that these Jin clan's third dragon were only rank 1 Supreme beings. Even if they were rank 9 Supreme beings, he could still kill them with a single finger. His rank 18 Xiao Hei's power was already equivalent to the true immortal realm above Supreme Being. Release Third Ancestor. Seeing the third dragon's pained expression, Jin clan's big dragon and second dragon shouted. Stars swirled around them one after another, incomparably terrifying. All of you, come back. You aren't his opponent. At this time, an indistinct voice sounded from the depths of Jin clan's core region. The sound waves rushed into the 9 heavens, turning into great Tao flowers that bloomed. In that instant, all of the cultivators' bodies inexplicably trembled, affected by this terrifying sound wave. Mother Great One has come. When they heard this, Jin clan's big dragon and second dragon gave each other a look, and then withdrew from the battlefield, bowing deeply towards the source of the sound. Is that Jin Taijun? Countless cultivators looked towards the core region. A hazy void figure appeared there. One could vaguely see a woman rising and falling within. Jin Taijun, one of Imperial Pass' unmatched giants, a taboo figure who could truly sweep through the 9 heavens 10 earths. Even though she was a woman, from the moment she stepped onto the path of cultivation, she blossomed with brilliance. Many heroic talents of the same generation, compared to her, were like fireflies competing for brilliance against the bright moon. The difference just too great. It was rumored that she might be an immortal core, a creature sealed by Jin clan's immortal through heaven-reaching methods. As a long-life family, back then, Jin clan's power was at its peak. Even though they were weaker than Sure family, they were still close behind. There were also rumors that this Jin Taijun was actually that true immortal's daughter, previously obtaining the true immortal's inheritance, immortal energy pouring into her, cleansing her marrows and meridians. If not for being restricted by the great changes in this world's environment, she might have already achieved immortality. Wong Wong Wong. The void trembled. In the depths of the core region, Jin Taijun walked over, the immortal elephant above her head astonishing. There were immortal cranes flying about, great Tao flower petals scattering down, fairies dancing in the sky, a beautiful land appearing. Tao friend, you really don't place my Jin clan in your eyes. Jin Taijun appeared on the battlefield, calmly looking at Chu Bei, her words carrying a wave of fierce coldness. Her entire body surged, great Tao laws swirling about, eyes cold. Great Tao energy surged. This is Jin Taijun? When they saw Jin Taijun's appearance, countless cultivators were stupefied, a bit in disbelief. Jin Taijun, an existence who had lived for several tens of thousands of years, overlooking the 9 heavens 10 earths. However, what they saw before them was a graceful young lady, her youthful aura threatening. Could it be that she has lived another life? Countless cultivators stared at Jin Taijun in shock, especially the Wang clan's ancestors and the elders of the Tianqian institution. Their faces were full of disbelief. They could tell that Jin Taijun's appearance was not the result of forcefully changing her appearance. She was truly a young lady full of vitality. Whether it was her bones or her flesh, it all indicated that this was an 18-year-old young lady, not an old monster. There was only one possibility that could cause such a situation, and that was that the other party had lived a new life. Ever since the great change in the world, the 9 heavens 10 earths had been lacking immortal materials, making it difficult for anyone to become an immortal. Because of this, no matter how powerful you are destined to die. Even if you are a supreme being and can live for more than 1,000,000 years, there is an end to your lifespan. After countless years, Jin Taijun should be old and her flame of life should be weakening. However, right now, she gave off the feeling that she had just started, that she had just risen up. She had lived another life. This was a display of Jin Taijun's powerfulness. Tao friend, I have shown myself. Are you still not going to let Xiao San go? Jin Taijun squinted her eyes and her voice turned colder. I came here today to hear about the descendant of the sinner's blood that you mentioned. Chu Bei looked at Jin Taijun mockingly. Then, his fingertips moved, and the giant chaotic hand beside him suddenly tightened. Ah! The shrill scream rang out, followed by a low rumble. Then, the primordial spirit of the Jin clan's third elder exploded in the giant hand and turned into nothingness. How dare you? The moment she sensed Chu Bei's attack, Jin Taijun made her move. The vision above her head condensed into a red beam of light that carried the power to destroy the world and attacked Chu Bei. However, before the red beam of light could reach Chu Bei, it was cut into a rain of light by a chaotic axe that appeared out of nowhere. In the end, Jin Taijun was unable to save the Jin clan's third elder from Chu Bei. Heavens! Boss Chu killed the Jin clan's third elder in front of Jin Taijun. Too domineering. Is he not going to give her any face? The Jin clan's supreme being, who once dominated an era, died just like that. Speaking of which, what kind of blood feud does Boss Chu have with the Jin clan? Countless onlookers were frightened and looked at Chu Bei's back in a daze. Give me back my third brother's life. After witnessing the scene of the Jin clan's third elder being killed, Jin Da and Jin Er suddenly appeared on the battlefield as if they had gone mad. Their auras surged, and their eyes were fixed on Chu Bei. Their killing intent swept through the 9 heavens. Come back. Just as Jin Da and Jin Er were attacking Chu Bei from different directions, Jin Taijun's robes fluttered as he shouted. Immediately, the two figures stabilized. After glancing at Jin Taijun, they unwillingly retreated behind her and stared at Chu Bei like poisonous snakes. Mother, third brother can't die in vain. Jin Da and Jin Er took a deep breath. Countless stars rotated behind them, releasing a power that could split the sky. Shut up. Jin Taijun turned around and coldly swept her eyes over Jin Da and Jin Er. After shouting again, her eyes returned to Chu Bei. Her brows furrowed. Dao friend, for the sake of some insignificant sinner's blood ants, are you going to fight to the death with my Jin clan? Jin Taijun's voice wasn't loud, but it reverberated by everyone's ears. That cold in the forest voice indescribably made everyone feel a chill run down their spines. When they heard Jin Taijun's words, the stone clansmen's eyes were filled with unwillingness. 1,000,000 years ago, they were Imperial Pass' most powerful emperor clan, yet now, they became sinners' blood ants. Chapter 454. Sinner's Blood? You should understand the truth of the past better than anyone, right? After hundreds of thousands of years, everything you've done is already enough for you to die over 100 times. Chu Bei took a step forward, staring at Jin Taijun, releasing a cold snort. I fear that you are the true sinner, right? The reason this one came to your Jin family today is precisely to redress these so-called sinners' blood descendants you all started rumors about. Let the people in Imperial Pass see if they really are sinners' blood descendants or not. In that instant, Chu Bei's powerful voice that was full of unmatched dignity rang through all of Imperial Pass City, rumbling like thunder, scattering through the sky dome, continuing for a long time. What are you trying to say? When she heard Chu Bei's words, Jin Taijun's body trembled slightly, her expression changing for the first time. Even when Jin San was killed, her emotions didn't fluctuate that much. Since you all came, why are you still hiding? Why don't you just show yourselves? Let's talk about this sinner's blood matter together. Chu Bei turned his head, his eyes indifferently sweeping over Heavenly Deity Institution. Long life families Wang family and Zhao family's old ancestors. Dao friend Chu, you've done something I've always wanted to do, but have never been able to. Behind Heavenly Deity Institution's elders, purple mist appeared. A green-robed elder walked out from within. Great Elder. When the green-robed elder appeared, Heavenly Deity Institution's elders immediately cupped their fists and bowed. Almost at the same time, a figure walked out from behind the long life families Wang family and Zhao family's old ancestors. Unlike Heavenly Deity Institution's Great Elder, these two figures looked extremely young, not more than 18 or 19 years old. That's Heavenly Deity Institution's Great Elder Ming Tianjing. Imperial Pass unmatched supreme being. For tens of thousands of years, it was always him who intimidated the other side's supreme beings. I never expected to be able to see him from such a close distance today. There are also those two. One is Wang family's ancestor Immortal Wang. The other is Zhao family's ancestor Zhao Haoyin. From their appearances, could it be that they also lived a new life? Imperial Pass four great supreme beings actually all came. All of this is thanks to Bosch Chu. Countless cultivators shifted their gazes between Jin Taijun, Meng Tianzhong, Immortal Wang, and Zhao Haoyin. Their eyes were wide open, and their faces were filled with disbelief. They really didn't dare imagine that one day, they would actually be able to meet Imperial Pass four most powerful figures at the same time. Fellow Daoist Chu, although I don't know your background, what happened back then is already a foregone conclusion. Let's stop here. Immortal Wang released a deep sigh. Behind him, the purple primordial mist released endless irregular scenes, terrifying to the extreme. Chu Bei laughed, not paying Immortal Wang any attention, only leaving that battlefield, returning to Jin family's abode. Then, he waved his robe toward the sky. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next moment, the void trembled, and a huge image was projected in the distant sky. Regardless of which corner of Imperial Pass they were in, they could clearly see it when they raised their heads. What was shown on the screen was the scene above the Jin family cave, including Chu Bei, Jin Taijun, Meng Tianzhong, and the others. Look at the sky. Where is that? Isn't that heavenly deity institution's great elder Meng Tianzhong? There is also Jin Taijun, Immortal Wang, and Zhao Haoyin. Why are the four great overlords gathered together? Could it be that desolate border is going to change? I recognize that place. That is Jin family's abode. Could it be that this has something to do with that indistinct voice from before? Could it be that there really is someone who dares provoke long-life Jin family? At this time, within Imperial Pass, including the border regions several tens of thousands of kilometers away, all of the cultivators raised their heads, looking towards the image in the sky dome, their faces carrying shock. Fellow Daoist, you are stirring up a great commotion. Long life Zhao family's ancestor gave the image in the sky dome a look. When he looked towards Chu Bei again, his brows couldn't help but furrow. Fellow Daoist Chu, what you are doing is exactly what this old man wants. The greater the commotion, the better. Meng Tianzhong roared with laughter. With a step, he actually stood side by side with Chu Bei. At this moment, he seemed to have made some type of decision. Chu Bei nodded slightly towards Meng Tianzhong, and then with a flick of his finger, several more images appeared in the sky dome. The first image, that was Stone Clan's tribe. There was an approximately 6-year-old child who successfully opened 10 heavenly passages within his body. Right when the clansmen were celebrating for him, a group of knights seated on vicious beasts descended from the sky, passing down a decree. They wanted this 6-year-old child to head to Desolate Borders battlefield to kill the enemy. Stone Clan's clansmen resisted, refusing to accept the decree. There were immediately several people who were killed, flesh and blood flying everywhere, dyeing the great earth. It was a ghastly sight. In the end, this 6-year-old child looked at the corpses of his parents on the ground, brought away by that group of knights while crying himself hoarse. The second image, Desolate Borders battlefield, was in a state of emergency, needing elite soldiers from the various great tribes to kill the enemy. Several thousand powerful knights descended on Stone Clan again, directly selecting 100 of the most powerful Stone Clan clansmen, and then they were sent to the battlefield, forcefully sending them to the very front lines to fight. They were from the same camp, but when these Stone Clan soldiers fought bloody battles on the front lines, those knights watched from the distance. Even if there were soldiers who were seriously injured, they still didn't care, allowing them to die in battle. The third image, an elder with large golden characters on the back of his long robes descended on Stone Clan, declaring that he wanted to refine great medicine, that he needed someone to guide him, saying that he came to borrow people. Stone Clan's people refused. Under the elder's anger, he killed several people on the spot. In the end, he chose 8 powerful Stone Clan cultivators and left. The ninth image, It was still StoneClan's tribe. 6 true self-realm soldiers surrounded a middle-aged man. Behind the middle-aged man was an approximately 10-year-old boy, the boy already entering the engravement realm. Even in all of Imperial Pass, there was no one more freakish than him. However, at such a young age, there was another decree that descended, wishing to send him to the front lines to kill the foreign villains. Fortunately, in the end, a group of people appeared. The young man in the lead raised his hand, killing 3 soldiers, ordering the other 3 to back off. Aren't the ones in these images all StoneClan? Even if they are sinners' blood descendants, they still can't be treated like this, right? In these tens of thousands of years, their contributions on desolate borders battlefield far exceeded ours. Just what kind of grudge does this Gene family have with StoneClan? Those StoneClan freaks all have hopes of reaching the supreme being level. Perhaps this Gene family is worried that there will be more traitors among the sinners' blood descendants. That is why they wanted to kill these freaks while they were still in the cradle, not allowing for the slightest mistake. Inside Imperial Pass, all of the cultivators raised their heads, looking at the images in the sky one after another, sympathy appearing in their eyes. Meanwhile, right now, the eyes of the StoneClan people behind Chu Bei were bloodshot, all of their fists clenched tightly, looking at Gene family's cultivators with resentment. The images in the sky dome above were precisely the various misdeeds Gene family did to StoneClan in the past tens of thousands of years. Old woman Gene, were these all your decrees? Good. No wonder the past number 1 Emperor clan never produced another supreme being in these tens of thousands of years. Turns out these freakish seedlings were killed by you when they were young. I am guarding desolate borders front lines. Is this the explanation you are giving me? Meng Tianzheng roared out, terrifying aura spreading. It was as if a great world appeared behind him. Jin Taijun didn't reply, only releasing a cold snort, his expression ugly to the extreme. This is this one's matter. There is no need for you to interfere. Chu Bei turned his head, giving Meng Tianzheng a look, saying calmly. As his calm voice faded, the scene of the stone tribe being treated unfairly in the sky disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a scene of a tragic battlefield. Kill. Inside Imperial Pass, before all of the cultivators could see the scene clearly, sky-shaking shouts of war first sounded by their ears. Immediately afterwards, the images became clearer and clearer. That was an ancient giant city. Outside the city was a boundless battlefield. The experts there could pluck stars and seize moons, every one of them ridiculously powerful. That pool was incomparably sturdy, resting in desolate border, inconceivably large, as if it was a world of its own. Hong Long Long. In the boundless battlefield, there were immortal Tao auras that fluctuated, symbols rushing into the air, stars falling from the sky. That type of battle was too intense, unimaginable. As the images changed, several figures appeared, supporting each other. Under the setting sun, they walked towards the desolate land's ancient giant city. Their ruined bodies swayed, as if they might fall at any time. Under the dusky setting sun, their bodies seemed especially large, not showing any signs of decline because of their injuries, all of them possessing a type of matchless aura. The 7 of them were like 7 unmatched kings, supporting each other just like that, stepping over endless corpses, returning to the giant city, carrying out a defense. Soon afterwards, there were endless terrifying creatures who slaughtered their way over, possessing the aura of the highest divine Tao, as if they were already undying, as well as a mortal radiance, incomparably terrifying. Kill. Those 7 individuals were covered in blood, incredibly large. They stood on the city wall, roaring angrily towards the sky, rushing out again, slaughtering their way towards the endless enemies. When they looked into the city again, there were many people in ragged clothes, disheveled hair and dirty faces, including skinny elders, thin and weak youngsters, little girls whose beast skin clothes were tattered and patched. They all ascended the city wall, wishing to participate in the battle. Under the world-shaking sounds of fighting, holy light rushed into the heavens from these people's foreheads, merging together, shattering the clouds, piercing the heavens. In the end, they gathered into a sin symbol. The 7 kings dragged their heavy injuries, fighting while bathed in blood, fighting against the invading enemies until the sky became dark. As the scene changed, the battle continued. The 7 great kings fell one after another, the stars in the sky all becoming dim. Behind them, the elders, youngsters, and little girls with the sin character between their brows raised their heads towards the sky, weeping bitterly, carrying grief. In that battle, the 7 kings fell, but through the eruption of the synth character's power, they also successfully forced back the terrifying invading enemies, successfully protecting the giant city that was who knew how many tens of thousands of li behind them. That battlefield is desolate border. Who exactly are those 7 people? It was them who used their lives to protect Imperial Pass. Why have I never heard of these 7 before? They used their lives to protect Imperial Pass, so why have I never heard of these people before? Did you all see that sinner's blood symbol? Could it be that those 7 are also sinners? No way, they clearly protected Imperial Pass. If not for them, Imperial Pass would have already fallen. At this moment, all of the cultivators in Imperial Pass City cried out in grief, staring blankly at the battlefield and the sky dome above. All of their blood seemed to have been ignited, truly wishing to immediately head to desolate border and fight against those from the other side. Of course, they were guessing at the identities of those 7 who used their lives to protect Imperial Pass. The battle back then, do you know anything about it? Above Jin family's cave, Chu Bei pointed at the scene in the sky dome above, suddenly looking towards the distant Jin Taijun, his ice-cold questioning resounding through the 9 heavens 10 earths. Chu Bei's questioning voice seemed to carry a type of terrifying and mysterious power. The instant his voice sounded, the divine force within all of Imperial Pass cultivators suddenly froze. In the distance, Jin Taijuan's expression became more and more ugly, increasingly overcast. His gaze towards Chu Bei surged with vicious killing intent. Chapter 455. Compared to Jin Taijun, whose eyes were full of killing intent, right now, the stone clansmen behind Chu Bei all stared blankly at the scene in the sky dome above, tears hanging from the corners of their eyes. Their eyes were red from crying. It was all because the ones fighting while bathed in blood were their ancestors. Gradually, stone clansmen's blood began to resonate with the scene, surging violently. Sin's symbols appeared on their foreheads one after another, becoming even more resplendent than before. Symbols interweaved, holy light surging into the heavens. Disciple, remember your master's words. Your ancestors aren't sinners, they are Imperial Pass true protectors. You all are the protector's bloodline. The symbols between your brows not only don't represent sin, it is the exact opposite, they represent glory. They record your ancestors' achievements and glory. Chu Bei carried sure how. His words weren't only for sure how to hear, but also for stone clansmen, as well as for everyone in Imperial Pass and the 9 heavens 10 earths to hear. Turns out our ancestors didn't sin. We aren't sinners either. The blood flowing through our bodies isn't filthy. It represents glory. Even when our ancestors died, they still fought for desolate border. They didn't sin. The stone clansmen cried, then laughed, all of their expressions as if they obtained relief, the heavy burden on their bodies finally being removed. What exactly is going on? Could it be that stone clansmen, fire clansmen, and those with the sinner's blood symbol between their brows aren't sinners' descendants? Who can tell me what the truth of this matter is? Those are clearly 7 protectors. They protected desolate border. So why did their descendants become sinners? What exactly is there that we don't know about? During these tens of thousands of years, could it be that we were always wrong? Those so-called sinners' blood are actually the descendants of heroes. They represent glory. Inside Imperial Pass, countless cultivators snapped out of their daze. They all looked at each other, eyes carrying confusion and confusion. They wished to know the truth of this matter. Why would the descendants of heroes mysteriously become sinners? They are the saviors of the 9 heavens 10 earths, the true protectors. However, after fighting in desolate border for so long, in the end, they couldn't even protect their descendants properly. Meng Tianjing shook his head, his voice carrying shame. So the people of Xin province aren't guilty. They are the descendants of the protectors. King Taodai, demon leader king, old celestial being, and the other cultivators looked at each other with shock in their eyes. If it weren't for the mysterious boss Chu projecting images of the Japanese battlefield, they would probably continue to instill this idea in their minds. Master, this disciple does not understand. Why did we later become sinners? Shihao raised his head, widening his eyes. Chu Bei gave Shihao a look, and then pinched his cheeks. With a wave of his sleeve, 2 more scenes appeared in the heavens. The first image, in the Jin family cave. The king of the Stone Clan was defeated on the battlefield. Father, now is the best time for us to replace them. How? You're the only one who survived this battle. Isn't the truth of this matter up to you? Moreover, in this battle, even though Imperial Pass was able to hold on, they were still the defeated side. Your respected self can completely attribute the reason for their defeat to Stone Clan's king. I know what to do. Inside the cave, a woman respectfully stood at the side of a middle-aged man, offering advice. Upon closer inspection, this woman was precisely Jin Taijun. The second image, the middle-aged man stood on Imperial Pass walls, announcing the reason for their defeat to the millions and millions of creatures in the city. Everything originated from Stone Clan's king and Fire Clan's king's betrayal, joining hands to kill the 3 desolate border kings. How could it be like this? Is this the truth? Turns out the mastermind behind everything was Jin family. For the sake of becoming the #1 emperor clan, they actually twisted the truth. No wonder Jin family would strangle Stone Clan's terrifying little fella in the cradle from the very start. They were scared that one day, the truth would be exposed. This damn Jin family, they actually deceived all of Imperial Pass cultivators. These clans with sinners' blood are so pitiful. After seeing these 2 images, the millions and millions of cultivators in Imperial Pass were first stunned, and then when they reacted, they all criticized Jin family's actions. It's you all. Turns out everything was because of you all. The Stone Clan people behind Chu Bei went crazy, all of their veins bulging, truly wishing to slaughter Jin Taijun into 1,000 pieces, tear her corpse into 10,000 pieces. Sigh, we only found out about this later on as well. However, things have already passed. The truth is no longer important. Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan exchanged a look, releasing a long sigh. Hong, back then, if it wasn't for you all protecting her, I would have already killed her. Meng Tianjing coldly swept his eyes over Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan, roaring out angrily, desolate border situation is becoming more and more tense. The other side has undying existences, so no matter what, she is still a great fighting force. Since things are already irreversible, then we might as well just drop the matter here. Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan spoke up again. What you all say sounds good. The reason why you all are watching from the side, the true reason is because Stone Clan's decline is also beneficial to your 2 clans' development, right? Chu Bei's eyes swept over Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan, releasing a cold laugh, face full of contempt. Dao friend Chu, cease your slander. When he heard Chu Bei's words, Zhao Haoyan's face fell, his fists clenching slightly. The stars behind him swirled and collided, an incomparably terrifying aura spreading outwards. Chu Bei didn't even give Zhao Haoyan a look, his eyes returning to Jin Taijun's body. With a wave of his sleeve, his eyes narrowed. Is there anything else you want to say? Truly laughable. All of this is nothing more than an illusion you produced, trying to numb Imperial Pass people. The truth is the truth. No matter how you cleanse the sinner's blood descendants, they will always be sinners. Jin Taijun quickly recovered, releasing a cold snort. Even at this time, you still dare quibble. Chu Bei's face became grave and stern, primal chaos surging behind him. At the same time, his entire body released resplendent and dazzling white light, ripples surging beneath his feet. The surrounding heavens released profound and difficult to understand great Tao sounds, as if tree leaves were swaying, rustling about. While taking a step, a streak of white light rushed into the heavens from Chu Bei's body, aura continuously rising, becoming more and more powerful. Breaking my Jin family's immortal formation, killing my third and eighth sons, do you really think I am scared of you? Jin Taijun glared at Chu Bei, shouting. Her entire body surged, astral energy surging, great Tao laws swirling about, eyes cold. Are Boss Chu and Jin Taijun going to fight again? One easily killed Jin family's 3 dragons, the other one is one of Imperial Pass 4 unmatched supreme beings. Just how terrifying is the battle between them? Perhaps even the foreign creatures on the other side of desolate border can sense it. When they saw the scene above, countless cultivators were speechless. For the sake of your own selfishness, distorting the truth, harming heroic descendants, you truly deserve to die, Chu Bei shouted. His young and handsome face was filled with coldness and killing intent that overflowed into the heavens. Around his body, dense white primal chaos rippled, an expanse of dazzling rainbows moving behind him. One could vaguely make out the scene of millions of people bowing down in worship. He stood on the battlefield, his aura oppressing Imperial Pass, pervading the 9 heavens, 10 earths. During these millions of years, if it wasn't for my Jin family overseeing it, desolate border would have long been broken through. Jin Taijun replied, laughable. Was there even a single person from your Jin family who killed on the desolate border's front lines? A group of useless ants. Chu Bei's cold eyes stared at Jin Taijun, berating again. He was like an immortal spirit, roaring out, the 9 heavens, 10 earths resonating. The faces of countless cultivators in Imperial Pass turned pale, their courage about to split apart. Fortunately, even though Chu Bei was angry, he still controlled himself, not harming Imperial Pass millions and millions of cultivators. Otherwise, the consequences would be too horrible to imagine. You are purposely slandering my Jin family. Jin Taijun frowned. The immortal image above his head was astonishing. Immortal cranes flying about, great Tao flower petals scattering down, fairies dancing in the sky, a swirling pure land appearing. Honglong. Chu Bei didn't say anything else, directly reaching out his right hand. A giant primal chaos palm imprint carried dazzling divine light, covering the entire battlefield's sky dome, smashing down towards Jin Taijun. Wherever it passed, endless great stars would explode. A bit of pressure seeped out from the battlefield, pouring down in torrents. The group of metal attribute cultivators immediately trembled, putong noises sounding continuously. They fell weak one after another, shivering all over. Jin Da and Jin Air released divine splendor at the same time, illuminating the metal attribute cultivators, but despite this, it still didn't do anything. These metal attribute cultivators still felt as if they fell into an ice house, as if they entered hell, trembling in fear. Are you treating me like I don't exist? On the battlefield, Jin Taijun gave the Jin family cultivators below a look, releasing a cold snort. Then, his hands moved, activating an ancient treasure. This was a violet gold mace that carried immortal Tao aura. When it was brandished, it smashed murderously towards Chu Bei, wishing to pierce through that primal chaos palm imprint. Chu Bei rushed forward, another wave of divine force pouring into the primal chaos palm imprint. Pung! The giant primal chaos palm and violet gold mace collided, the noise shaking the heavens. In almost an instant, the violet gold mace was sent flying. Looking at the shadow of the iron lump that suddenly appeared in the palm of the giant primal chaos palm, Jin Taijun frowned, and a slightly serious expression appeared on her face. This violet gold mace was her Tao attainment weapon. It was sturdy and indestructible, containing a large amount of divine gold. It could be said to be a half-step immortal weapon, but in the end, it was sent flying so easily. Above the Jin family cave abode, Ming Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, and Zhao Haoyan, the 3 supremes, looked at the floating iron lump with a hint of surprise in their eyes. What is this? Jin Taijun pointed at the iron lump in front of the giant primal chaos palm, frowning and asking in a deep voice. Chu Bei didn't answer Jin Taijun's question. He controlled the giant primal chaos palm to continue pressing forward. At the same time, The iron lump released a terrifying tearing force that covered the sky, instantly appearing in front of Jin Taijun. Jin Taijun shouted softly, holding the violet gold mace with both hands, and an avatar appeared behind her as she went forward. However, in the next moment, her pupils suddenly shrank. Outside the iron lump in front of the giant primal chaos palm, there was another layer of bluish-green light. This was a mysterious aura that she had never encountered before. In the light, she could see the avatar of thousands of people worshipping. In the end, it condensed into a terrifying swastika symbol. Crack. This supreme symbol was very domineering and indestructible. In an instant, it broke the violet gold mace that contained a large amount of divine gold. How can this be? Impossible. Looking at the broken violet gold mace, Jin Taijun was stunned and lost her mind for a short moment. What kind of power is this? He can actually break Mother's Dao attainment weapon. Is he really so strong that he can compete with Mother? No, looking at the current situation, he even has the upper hand. Looking at the broken violet gold mace, Jin Da and Jin Air were stunned at first. When they came back to their senses, they looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. In the next moment, the two of them appeared on the battlefield at the same time, one on each side of Jin Taijun. Kill! Jin Da shouted. The yin and yang qi in his abdomen spun, and his sea of reincarnation appeared, forming the yin-yang life and death diagram. It enlarged rapidly and surrounded him. At the same time, Jin Air's organs shone and his chanting echoed. It was as if all the Buddhas and demons were chanting at the same time, supporting his undefeatable body. His four limbs seemed to be connected to the universe and could suppress the four extremes of heaven and earth. After the two of them looked at each other, they held their Dao attainment weapons and attacked Chu Bei from different directions. Are you in such a hurry to die? Both of you, come back. Chu Bei's mocking voice and Jin Taijun's anxious shouting echoed in the 9 heavens and 10 earths at the same time. Jin Taijun's expression changed drastically. However, before she could stop Jin Da and Jin Air, Chu Bei had already gotten close to them. Chu Bei swung his fist. Although it was simple and direct, it contained Xiao Hei's power and was mixed with all kinds of techniques and theories. The moment he punched, the stars in the sky appeared behind him. Between his fists, the river of stars swirled. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were moving with him. The scene was extremely terrifying. Boom! Chu Bei took the lead and punched towards Jin Air. All of a sudden, the chanting of sutras around Jin Air's body disappeared. His glowing internal organs became distorted and dimmed. With a boom, he exploded in the 10,000 feet long ripples, and his body and soul were destroyed. Seeing this, Jin Da's pupils suddenly shrank and fear emerged in his eyes. He tried to withdraw his attack and retreat, but Chu Bei's palm seemed to have an irresistible suction force. He could only continue to move forward. Boom! Another earth-shattering boom. Chu Bei's second punch accurately landed on Jin Da's abdomen. The life and death pattern formed by the flowing yin and yang qi turned into a rain of light and dissipated. The surrounding stars also exploded at the same time. The howling wind swept through the 9 heavens. Just like Jin Air, Jin Da's primordial spirit did not have time to escape. Before he could scream, he was buried under Chu Bei's fist. From Jin Da and Jin Air's attack to being killed by Chu Bei, everything happened in the blink of an eye. Ah, you killed my 4th son. I won't rest until you are dead. Jin Taijun hurried over, but it was already too late. While looking in the direction Jin Da and Jin Air disappeared, she suddenly seemed to have gone crazy. She roared towards the sky, her voice full of domineering killing intent. While carrying hatred, Jin Taijun continuously released several dozen terrifying attacks. However, they were all easily neutralized by Chu Bei. What? You are someone who has lived for millions of years, yet you still feel the pain of losing your children? Chu Bei's hands were behind him. He looked coldly at Jin Taijun, his voice becoming overcast. Then when you issued the decree to send those children from Stone Clan to Desolate Border's front lines, have you thought about their parents' feelings? The ice-cold and indifferent voice drifted through the battlefield, sounding in the minds of everyone in Imperial Pass. Chapter 456. Jean Da and Jean Air were killed. Although they just came out of seclusion, they are still supremes. Killing Jean Taijuan's son in front of her. In the entire 9 heavens and 10 earths, I'm afraid only this unknown boss Chu can do that. The discussion started again. Outside the Jean family's cave, the cultivators who were watching the battle were even more frightened and in disbelief. Die! Jean Taijun roared. Her expression was completely different. Although she was still very delicate, there was an indescribable, terrifying aura, as if a demon had awakened. Originally, she was a graceful young lady who had lived a second life and had a kind of immortal temperament. But now, although she was still surrounded by immortal qi and was in a pure white fog, her appearance had turned into that of an old woman. She was incomparably fierce and intimidating. Like an immortal sword unsheathed, killing intent burst out, and the universe was about to be thrown into chaos. Even if my cultivation is suppressed in this world, I can still destroy you with a finger. Chu Bei's voice was cold. After sensing Jean Taijuan's aura, his words were still full of disdain. At the same time, a terrifying aura that shook the sky covered the sky and spread in all directions with him as the center. In an instant, all the living beings in the 9 heavens and 10 earths were terrified. Their souls were trembling, and many ferocious beasts in the mountains trembled and quickly knelt down to worship. It was also at this moment Jean Taijun attacked again, but unlike before, this time she didn't use the so-called Immortal Dao's grand technique. When she waved her hand, no divine power could be felt, and vast laws intertwined. It could even be described as casual. As her robe fluttered, she used her right hand as a blade and slashed directly at Chu Bei. Although it wasn't flashy, the moment Jean Taijun attacked, everyone clearly felt that the surroundings suddenly became dead silent. It was as if only her right hand was left in the originally noisy world. Chu Bei glanced at Jean Taijun indifferently and was as calm as before. He casually raised his right leg slowly and kicked towards Jean Taijuan's right hand. The cultivators looked at each other speechlessly, and even a little dazed as they stared blankly at the battlefield. They really couldn't imagine that this was a life and death battle between 2 supremes. His moves were too ordinary. There were no energy fluctuations at all, nor were there any worldly laws. However, unlike the ordinary cultivators, Meng Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, Zhao Haoyin, and the other early-stage supremes were watching the battle between Chu Bei and Jean Taijun with great seriousness. All of them had grave expressions. They were naturally able to see that Chu Bei and Jean Taijun had restrained their daos within their bodies. There wasn't the slightest bit of energy leaking out. Although it seemed as if they weren't affected by any fire energy and seemed very casual, as if they were 2 ordinary people fighting, in reality, the might and power of their battle was unimaginable. Once it detonated, it would definitely cause the world to collapse and destroy everything. On the battlefield, Jean Taijun was constantly shifting his position like an eagle spreading its wings. His arms were resonating, and his mouth was whistling. From time to time, he would change his attacks and tease Chu Bei. There was no dazzling brilliance, nor were there any symbols of the great Tao. Everything was very direct. On the other hand, Chu Bei had one hand behind his back. His eyes flashed as if he didn't care about Jean Taijuan's attack at all. Bang! In the dull collision, a fist and a leg collided, bringing about a dull sound. The sky didn't collapse. Only the place where the 2 bodies collided made an abnormal sound. Amidst the dull sound, Jean Taijun retracted his hand and immediately retreated. His face was pale, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His breathing was chaotic. Your cultivation level, could it be? Jean Taijun retreated, but before he could finish his words, Chu Bei appeared in front of him. Following that, Chu Bei waved his sleeve and, under the latter's incredulous gaze, gave him a big slap on the latter's face, causing a clear "pa" sound. How dare you humiliate me? On the battlefield, Jean Taijun staggered. Golden blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He was slightly stunned at first. His right hand touched the cheek that was slapped. When he came back to his senses, his face was ashen. He directly roared into the sky. Rolling thunder burst out, and his killing intent swept through the 9 heavens. At this moment, because of the monstrous anger in his heart, Jin Taijun couldn't calm down. The power of the great Tao that he controlled couldn't be restrained in his body anymore. It burst out directly from his body. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the sky split open, the void collapsed, and countless spatial gaps spread far and wide. On the battlefield, one after another, terrifying pitch-black holes appeared. Countless stars collapsed, turning into billions of fragments that shot into the gaps. The terrifying aftermath of the divine power continued to spread, faintly showing signs of spreading towards the 9 heavens, 10 earths. Meng Tianzheng, Zhao Haoyan, and Wang Changsheng didn't hesitate. They immediately took action and took out their weapons. Only then did they block the divine power that Jin Taijun emitted outside the 9 heavens, 10 earths. This was the terror of a peak supreme being. When angry, heaven and earth would collapse, and all living beings would be plunged into misery and suffering. At this moment, on the battlefield, Chu Bei waved his sleeve. Chaotic ripples spread out, bringing Jin Taijun to an even more distant battlefield. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you into pieces and never let you enter the cycle of reincarnation. Jin Taijun roared at Chu Bei like a madman. His eyes were bloodshot, and one hand tightly held the cheek that was slapped previously. In these millions of years, she had never suffered such great humiliation. In Imperial Pass, her words were imperial edict, no one daring to go against them. She was used to being domineering. However, today, not only did she have 4 of her children killed, she even suffered a slap to the face. Hong. Another great explosion sounded. As for Chu Bei, not only did he not fear Jin Taijun's crazy appearance, there was even a smile on the corners of his lips. He got close again, his large hand smashing down, as if the heavens were smashing down. Ah! Jin Taijun roared out, eyes releasing flames. Her entire body surged with battle intent, blood energy burning. She faced him, blocking this strike. Dong! Another clash at the peak. Stars exploded, silver streams flowing in reverse. After a moment of deadlock, Jin Taijun's body backed up, unable to stop Chu Bei's attack. However, right when Jin Taijun was about to accumulate power and release another attack, Chu Bei's palm reached out again. Chaotic force could be seen surging in his palm. A palm smashed down, brilliant radiance erupting. Pa! Another clear sound that shocked the 9 heavens, 10 earths sounded. Chu Bei delivered another slap to Jin Taijun's face, this time landing firmly on the other side of Jin Taijun's face. The strange Xiao Hei's power erupted on Jin Taijun's face, immediately producing a clear palm imprint on the other side of her face, golden blood flowing out from the corners of her lips. If it was an ordinary cultivator, even if they had just entered the Supreme Being level, under Chu Bei's slap, their head and primordial spirit might have instantly turned into a bloody mist. However, Jin Taijun was still a peak Supreme Being, the toughness of her skin far from what normal Supreme Beings could compare to. She used all of her blood energy, divine light surging, neutralizing her greatest danger and humiliation. Why? Why is this the case? Jin Taijun was driven mad, her hair disheveled, eyes cold, crazily questioning Chu Bei. She had been nurtured by a true immortal since she was young. After millions of years, she had long reached the peak of Supreme Being. It could be said that she didn't fear anyone under the true immortal level. However, why was it that she just couldn't win against this fella called Boss Chu? She didn't believe that in this age, their 9 heavens, 10 earths still had immortals. In her opinion, no matter how strong this person was, he was definitely at the Supreme Being realm like her. However, the result of this battle didn't seem like they were on the same level at all, the other party crushing her so easily. It was to the extent where the divine force the other party displayed was something she had never come into contact with before, as if it came from beyond the 9 heavens, 10 earths. As an existence high above an imperial pass, she was slapped by the other party twice in a row. This type of humiliation was unendurable. She knew that after this battle, even if she was a supreme being, her reputation would still be swept through the floor. losing her true great prestige. Throughout the 9 heavens, 10 earths, from immortal ancient until now, in the past million years, apart from her, which other supreme being would be slapped by another? That person is actually powerful to this degree. Is he really only a supreme being? He didn't give Jin Taijun any face, continuously slapping her twice in front of all of Imperial Pass cultivators. Jin Taijun has towered at the peak of supreme being for many years, yet she still isn't that person's match. I fear that he might have already achieved immortality, right? In my opinion, this boss Chu definitely has a great relationship with the Wasteland 7 Kings who protected Imperial Pass back then. Otherwise, why would he be so furious? If all of this is true, then this Jin Taijun's death isn't worth regretting. At the same time, it wasn't just the cultivators around Jin family. All of Imperial Pass, and even all of the cultivators in the 9 heavens 10 earths raised their heads, looking at the scene in the sky dome above in a stupefied manner. The scene of this battle was projected by Chu Bei to every corner of the 9 heavens 10 earths, including the lower realms of the 3,000 Dao provinces. At this moment, all of the cultivators were stupefied, inwardly incomparably shaken. They simply didn't dare believe that the high and mighty Jin Taijun would actually fall to this extent, be struck down so powerfully by another. Jin family's cultivators' faces were deathly pale, all of them revealing great unwillingness. Their eyes that looked at Chu Bei carried hatred, but also restraining fear and fear. Stone Clan's people's faces were full of joy, unable to help but cry out, their expressions stirred up. Boss Chu is the one who is truly worthy of being the #1 expert of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Devil Leader King, Tao Dai King, Old Celestial, Immortal Palace Master, and the other self-release experts who came with Chu Bei were all dazzled, looking at Chu Bei's rear figure with greater and greater reverence. Great ancestor, well done. Yi Qingxian slapped the table in praise. Towards this result, she wasn't surprised in the slightest. After all, this great ancestor of hers could freely move through the great river of time. Even if it was someone as powerful as her great father, he still couldn't casually rewrite history like the other party, coming and going as he pleased. Towards Chu Bei's strength, she naturally wouldn't have any misgivings. She firmly believed in the words the other party spoke. Because of some mysterious power, the other party's unmatched cultivation was restricted. Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and Zhao Haoyan exchanged a look, remaining silent. Jin Taijun obtained the inheritance of Immortal Ancient's true immortal, his strength not weaker than any of them. For 1,000,000 years, his might shook the 9 heavens 10 earths, yet right now, he was completely suppressed by this boss Chu who appeared out of nowhere, beaten until he couldn't retaliate at all. Chapter 457. Bang, bang, bang. On the battlefield, the demonized Jin Taijun once again pounced at Chu Bei with a strong killing intent. However, within a few breaths, she was shaken until blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. During the battle, Chu Bei had been playing it down, as if he hadn't used much strength. Slap. Jin Taijun's left face was slapped by Chu Bei again. This time, it was particularly serious. Half of her face was smashed off, her cheekbones cracked, and teeth fell out of her mouth. Even from afar, it was still a shocking sight. You humiliated me 3 times. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Jin Taijun's eyes became colder and colder. Her hair was disheveled, and her gaze was as cold as a poisonous snake's. She couldn't wait to eat Chu Bei. As she shouted coldly with surging killing intent, the great Tao in Jin Taijun's body trembled. Countless golden blood condensed into blood beads and floated around her body. As the golden blood beads burned and rose, her aura rose again. Under the supreme power, stars exploded one after another. At this moment, Jin Taijun burned her blood essence and sublimated to the extreme. Clang! Jin Taijun pinched a seal, and a golden light condensed at her fingertip. It was condensed from the divine power produced by the burning of her blood essence. The golden light was too terrifying. It was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. As soon as it formed, it shattered the sky and thousands of stars. It even revealed a 9-colored heavenly river. Die. As soon as the cold in the forest voice filled with monstrous killing intent fell, Jin Taijuan's fingertip suddenly stabbed forward. The golden light that covered the sky instantly shot out. Chu Bei's face was expressionless, and his eyes were still full of contempt. As he stepped forward, a chaotic great Tao appeared under his feet and spanned the entire battlefield. Then, the moment the golden light hit, his right hand slapped out, and a flower of the great Tao bloomed to meet the golden light. Boom! The battlefield collapsed, and the power of the immortal Tao spread. Even watching the scene, countless cultivators couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. The aftermath dissipated, and a figure flew out. Jin Taijuan's body was covered in wounds. After flipping several times, she stabilized her body. Her aura was chaotic, and she glared at Chu Bei with a face full of unwillingness. On the other side of the battlefield, Chu Bei's clothes didn't move, and his aura was as stable as before. Dong dong dong. Chu Bei stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He stepped on the great path of chaos and walked towards Jin Taijun. With every step he took, a flower of the great path bloomed beneath his feet. Fellow Taoist Chu, let's end this battle here. There's no need for anyone to die. At this moment, Wang Changsheng and Zhao Haoyan, the two peak supremes, appeared on the battlefield at the same time. After exchanging a look, they stood side by side and blocked Chu Bei's path. You have to pay the price for your wrongdoings. Moreover, up until now, I still haven't killed him. Chu Bei gave Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan an indifferent look, calmly saying, move aside for this one. Dao friend Chu, right now, desolate border situation is tense. Jin Taijun is one of our side's most powerful forces, so no matter what, she cannot die. The truth of what happened back then has already been announced to the 9 heavens 10 earths. From today onwards, towards the descendants of these protectors, we will definitely double the compensation. Let's end this battle here. Immortal Wang didn't back down, speaking out in reply, when I want to kill someone, I will never leave them alive. Chu Bei continued forward, his aura becoming more and more powerful. When he was less than 100 meters away from Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan, he shouted, Scram! Dao friend Chu, you should stop before going too far. Jin Taijun is already injured, and she has been humiliated by you in front of everyone in the 9 heavens 10 earths. It's time to stop. Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan sighed deeply, still not moving. What if this one insists on killing her? Chu Bei's gaze was cold, speaking word by word. Hearing this, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan exchanged a look. After exchanging a few glances, they sighed. If Dao friend Chu insists on doing this, then we can only join hands and exchange some pointers with you. What? You want to fight 3 against 1? At this time, a cold snort exploded in the battlefield like thunder from the 9th tribulation. Meng Tianzhong appeared beside Chu Bei, coldly glaring at Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan. When Meng Tianzhong appeared, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan's expressions immediately became ugly, a bit of seriousness appearing between their brows. This is this one's business. Chu Bei turned his head to give Meng Tianzhong a look, and then his eyes swept over Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan, saying with a sunken voice, Do you two think you have the qualifications to fight against this one? Dao friend Chu, the two of them are different from Jin Taijun, possessing true immortal artifacts. Immortal artifacts? So what? Meng Tianzhong spoke up to remind him, but before he finished speaking, Chu Bei waved his hand, cutting him off. Forget it, then I'll just watch from the side. When he faced Chu Bei's gaze, Meng Tianzhong didn't say anything else, withdrawing to a star. What kind of situation is this? Could it be that Boss Chu is going to fight Imperial Pass 3 supreme beings alone? Do these old fellas still have any sense of shame? If they have the skills, then fight Boss Chu one-on-one. Regardless of how this battle ends, Boss Chu's name has already resounded through Imperial Pass. Imperial Pass countless cultivators looked at Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan who appeared on the battlefield, discussing spiritedly, This old one is going to stake it all against you. Perhaps because she had Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan's help, Jin Taijun, whose aura gradually stabilized, released a roar, rushing murderously at Chu Bei again. Chong. Immortal Wang also took action. Because he had seen Chu Bei's strength, he didn't hold back either, directly using the chaos calming art. This was an immortal Dao technique that had been intimidating since Immortal Ancient until now, known as one of the 3 most powerful sword arts of all time. Its attack power unmatched under the sky. A sword core rushed out from between Immortal Wang's brows, its size extremely small, only the size of a palm. It was entirely pitch black, as if it was made from black jade, specks of dark light flickering about. This was a primordial spirit sword core, known to be an extreme method for cultivating the primordial spirit, forging the primordial spirit, turning it into an unstoppable sword core, able to cut down demons and kill immortals. Zheng. Sword cries sounded. That sword core shot murderously at Chu Bei. In that instant, heavenly stars were boundless, primal chaos erupting, destructive energy engulfing the heavens above and earth below. Chu Bei remained unmoved. His right hand formed an imprint, a Dao flower appearing, directly facing the sword core. Dang! A metallic explosion sounded. The sword core was directly sent flying. Immortal Wang's body trembled fiercely. Immediately afterwards, a hint of shock appeared in his pupils. Previously, when he was watching the battle, he already sensed the power on this boss Chu's body, but he couldn't see through it. Now that he personally fought, only then did he truly experience the terror of this wave of divine force. Just die for me. Jin Taijun suddenly laughed crazily, her laughter carrying complacency. It was because when Chu Bei and Immortal Wang exchanged blows, she arrived behind Chu Bei. Moreover, he had successfully accumulated power. A divine spear condensed from the divine power generated by burning his blood essence was completely formed. Chu Bei was expressionless. Right when the divine spear in Jin Taijuan's hands was about to pierce through his body, an iron lump appeared in front of him. This iron lump happened to be facing Jin Taijun. It leaned forward, a strange power gushing out of its palm, and took the lead to slap the divine spear. Crack! The divine spear shattered. Then, the iron lump closed in on Jin Taijun, reached out an arm, and grabbed Jin Taijuan's neck, lifting her up like a little chick. As for the other hand, it slapped toward his face. Slap, slap, slap. In an instant, the 9 heavens and 10 earths were filled with the crisp sound of slaps. Poof! Jin Taijuan's body couldn't move. It was as if her entire body was sealed. She could only endure the terrifying giant palm that continuously swung at her. She spat out mouthfuls of golden blood, and all her teeth fell out. In the blink of an eye, Jin Taijun suffered a total of 108 slaps from the iron lump. During this time, her head exploded and reassembled a total of 36 times. When the cultivators in the 9 heavens and 10 earths saw this scene, they were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. It was too unbelievable. Even with the help of the other 2 unmatched supreme beings, she still couldn't escape from this boss Chu's hands. Dao Friend Chu, number 1 in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, you are worthy of this title. When they sensed that Jin Taijuan's aura was becoming weaker and weaker, her primordial spirit about to explode, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan both took a deep breath, as if they made some type of decision at the same time. Zheng. A metallic sound rang out, as if dragons and tigers were roaring. A war halberd appeared in the void in front of Immortal Wang, releasing dazzling immortal light. Its sound was cold, making one's soul tremble. This war halberd was 8 feet in length, full of radiance, immortal light dazzling. It was a terrifying weapon that left one with a deep impression with a single look. It carried immortal energy, swirling with immortal splendor. It was an immortal weapon. However, it also carried a wave of killing intent that went against the auspiciousness of the immortal Tao. It spread outwards, turning into a divine killing weapon. At the same time, in front of Zhao Haoyan, a picture scroll unfolded, covering the sky. In the picture scroll, mountains and rivers were magnificent, great stars moving about. A complete great world was presented, incredibly realistic. It rested quietly in the void just like that, yet a wave of terrifying aura pervaded the air, as if it was going to suppress the universe. Could that be Wang family's Xinyuan war halberd and Zhao family's Ten Realms diagram? Heavens, turns out these two immortal artifacts weren't lost. Immortal Dao weapons refined by true immortal ancient era immortals. Some of the self-release realm and above existences recognize the war halberd in front of immortal Wang and the picture scroll in front of Zhao Haoyan, all of them incredibly shocked. These two great immortal artifacts were too famous. They had previously been separately possessed by Wang family and Zhao family's immortals, displaying great brilliance in immortal ancients' last phase battle, slaughtering the foreign experts until ghosts wept and deities howled, slaughtering out a brilliant reputation, shocking past and present. Dao friend Chu, they have immortal artifacts, so why don't I lend you my war banner? Not far out, Meng Tianjing spoke. With a wave of his hand, a tattered cloth appeared, dyed in blood. One could vaguely hear endless shouts of war from within. This cloth was extremely tattered, moreover extremely wrinkled. There were a few holes on it, as if it was about to completely rot away. Despite this being the case, one could roughly tell that this was a banner. There were all types of filthy blood traces, too many traces left behind by time. Immortal. Immortal king corpse wrapping cloth. When they saw Meng Tianjing summon the blood-dyed war banner, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan's expressions changed at the same time. The reason why it had this name was because this tattered cloth had previously wrapped around the corpses of two immortal kings. When dealing with these ants, why would this great one need to borrow other things? Chu Bei gave the immortal king corpse wrapping cloth a look, shaking his head. When his calm voice sounded, Chu Bei took a step out. A giant Taiji diagram made of all life source energy, grand mist energy, and Xiao Hei's power appeared around him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.